Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 301. I am Peter and joining me as always is Matt.
Not new, not different. Same crew.
Yes.
301.
Well, you are wearing an Indiana Jones shirt, which does imply that you'd rather keep things very old school.
Yeah.
Than move forward.
It's called vintage.
Oh yeah, it's vintage, yes.
Like most comic fans, right? We fear change.
And one change I do not fear is Connor not being here, but that is not this week. So
there was too many negatives. I couldn't keep up.
Just like you.
Story of your life. And also not being able to keep up. Like I feel there's a lot in that sentence there that really applied to Connor.
Yeah. Has anybody done the mashup of Connor and the Negative Man?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge.
Yeah. Hey, fan art. Guys, you can draw Connor in bandages, right?
Wait, do you have to have like tufts of ginger hair sticking out of the bandages just to make sure that we know it's Connor?
Or no, so it's in the bandages, but his spirit self is just Connor.
Oh.
I'm disappointed at how little fan art we've gotten now that you mention it.
Yeah, I know, we should.
Maybe our fan base is entirely made of thinkers and not drawers. So all the writers.
We just don't have enough creatives.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna send Tim some money. He's an artist. Let him go wild.
I don't think a commission counts as fan art.
Why not? Tim's a fan.
No, he's not. We asked him what his favorite moment of the show was, and he said the one episode that he was on. Yeah,
that's the
He's a bigger fan of himself, though. Let's be honest.
And who isn't, right? Who's not a fan of Tim?
That's true. It's true.
It's DC Comics Podcast. We get together. We talk about comics that we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, we've got Flashpoint Beyond issue 0. We have Superman Son of Kal-El issue 10, Batgirls issue 5, Batman Urban Legends issue 14, Batman Catwoman issue 11, Naomi season 2 issue 2, the Sandman universe Nightmare Country issue 1, and Connor's got a Patreon book to look at as well, which will be the Noctera issue 7. So that's what's coming up. Yeah, week 2 is a really weird hodgepodge of a week right now. Like I feel like it's there's a few things that only one of us are reading. There's weird things going on. But we'll get into all the books in a little bit. But the way the days have fallen this month, it is actually Solicits week. So we have Solicits on week 2 this week instead of week 3. So brace yourselves.
Did not realize that, or else I would have looked at those earlier.
I glanced at like a couple of bits, like the key headlines, but there might be some surprise in there. Who knows?
I haven't looked at a
This would make sense why a lot of news came out this week.
Yeah. I haven't looked at a single thing in the Solicits, so we'll get into. Obviously, there was a big bit of news earlier this week, which we'll just get to in the Solicits when we hit that big. But yeah, of course, though, there's always time for the ComiXology top 10, which is thankfully back. This is, of course, looking at the top 10 books on ComiXology, which is Amazon ComiXology. The point is, it's the same thing as before. It's just they finally presented the books in the order that they're currently selling. So number 1 this week is not a DC book, unfortunately. Although DC is a bit more well represented in the top 10.
Is it an X-Men book?
It is an X-Men book.
Okay, it's X-Men 10.
Yeah, I don't know what X-Men books came out this week.
It's X-Men 10. It's literally just X-Men.
Okay.
Like there's no subtitle or anything. It's just X-Men. Issue 10.
Adjectiveless X-Men.
But it does have Laura on the cover, which is nice.
Wolverine?
Yep. Yes, the one true Wolverine.
It's the only.
Yes. If Wolverine is a short Canadian man with a penis, then that's not Wolverine.
Not Wolverine.
No. He is simply the prelude to Wolverine.
I did not know that's where you were going. I thought you were going to say short Canadian man with claws. So when you said the other word, was not ready.
You can say penis, man. It's not that bad a word.
Yes, I know, but it's funny if I don't. Right? Like it's. Whew.
Oh dear. But yeah, number 2 is a DC book, though. What do you think the best-selling DC book was this week, Matt?
Is it Batman Catwoman?
It is not.
No,
Dang.
it'll be Superman Son of Kal-El because Tom Taylor sells.
It is
It's
not.
not that either. Is it something we read?
Yes.
Oh, please tell me it's not Flashpoint Beyond.
It's
Flashpoint Beyond issue 0 is the number 2 book at the time of recording on
I
ComiXology.
hate the public.
Number 3 is Batman Catwoman issue 11. Number 4 is Superman Son of Kal-El. So, slots 2, 3, and 4 all
Ding,
DC.
ding, ding.
It's nice to see. Darth Vader, whatever issue that is, is number 5.
Wait, Connor, do you know what Crimson Reign is? Is this the Crimson Dawn
Yeah, I
crossover
believe so.
story?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm a bit behind, so I'm not on it yet. I'm just finishing up War of the Bounty Hunters, and this kind of comes right after that.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Yep. Number 6 is Eternals issue 11.
Heard a lot of good buzz for that book that people are like, it took one of the weirdest, some people said worst Marvel concepts and it's turned it into the best book every month. The movie hasn't motivated me to check out these characters, so I'll take their word for it.
I went and checked it out because it was Gillen and
of course.
Isad Ribic on art, so I was like, yeah, yep, I'm going to be there.
Well, I doubt I'll ever read it.
I'm shocked.
I doubt I'll ever try it, to be honest.
I do have McKelvey's 2 issues of Captain Carter to read. So, yeah. So I feel you, Connor.
Wait, is that some sort of Peggy becomes Captain America book?
Yep. That's based off of What If. So, yeah.
Very good. Number 7, we're back to DC with Batman 89, issue 5. So it's still doing relatively well. And then we have X-Men 92, House of XCII. What number is that?
So what would that be? That's
10 before. No,
that's 10 before 100. So that would be 90, 92.
Is that 92?
X-Men 92, House of 92.
Wait, she's 100? I thought she was 50.
No, that's the animated series sequel. That's why it's 92.
Right.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought C's 100, right?
I thought she was 50.
For Century. That's why it's Century's 100.
I see.
C.
What's 50
And a
then?
Centurion was 100 soldiers. Yeah, hold on.
What's 50? What's 50 then?
C?
Is
Hold
that
on.
the V?
No, it's L.
Isn't it like a...
It's L because Super Bowl 40 was Super
I
Bowl
thought Matt
XL.
would know that off the top of his head because he watches Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's L. And because last year was Super Bowl Live, and this was Super Bowl LV.
Interesting.
For some reason in my head it was just 2 V's, and I was like, that doesn't seem right, but...
No.
Super Bowl LV. I can't wait till they get to Super Bowl LV 426.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's Alien vs. Predator. Whoever wins that one, we lose.
Yeah, that was an Alien. For anyone who doesn't get, that's an Alien reference. All right, number 9 is Wonder Woman 786, which of course is part of the Trial of the Amazons, which is why we didn't read it this week. And number 10 is Green Lantern issue 12, so a couple more DC books. So 6 DC books in the top 10 right now. Not bad. Not bad showing overall. Looking just a little bit further down, number 12 is Batman Urban Legends, 14 is Batgirls, Sandman Nightmare Country is 17. So, I mean, DC sprinkled healthily throughout that top 20. Quite well. So, there you go. That was the top 10. No real surprises. Yeah. It is worth mentioning the Moon Knight Omnibus Volume 1, which is on sale there. Is actually number 13, because I was about to say, wait, a Moon Knight book's in the teens, that's not doing that well, and then I noticed it was the omnibus and not an issue 1 and thought, oh, it's $40. That's actually quite good that it's that high.
It was presumably on sale last week.
I assume so, but
Connor, are you watching Moon Knight?
Am I fuck?
Huh?
No.
What part of no F-bombs are you unfamiliar with, you ginger shite?
The part where I get asked stupid questions and I'm half asleep and it just slips out clearly.
I saw you like something about the music. That's why I didn't know.
Did I?
If I thought you did.
Must just making up stories.
I'm not. I thought, of course Connor would like something about the music on the show.
I couldn't tell you anything about the music on that show.
Yeah. Well, maybe I've had mine do this before, where the Twitter algorithm just spits out randomness. But yeah.
Does it spit out tweets that never happened from people?
Yeah, no. It was him liking a tweet about how they, one of the producers' wives helps fix the music, and it's all like Egyptian artists and stuff. So.
Okay. So he never actually said anything about it.
No. He just
Okay.
liked it. It's like Conor Ryan liked this.
I don't even remember doing that, but maybe I did.
Yeah. We can talk about your drinking, Connor.
You say that like it's excessive.
What a mystery.
It sounds really bad because I'm picking this up now, but this is like my first drink in like a week, so maybe like 4 days, but still.
I gotta find this tweet now.
TV News came back last week though, and he did get through several swigs of a bottle on the first episode.
That was not my fault. That was
that was CBS's
the news stories.
fault.
That was because of Bloodlust, the TV show.
Jesus, that would kill me.
He just yeah.
Yeah. All right.
No, those were not my fault. That was terrible news stories hitting me.
Let's get into the solicits. This is July solicits for this year, obviously. And we'll work through them. We'll see what's in there. Obviously, there's one or two juicy things to talk about that were announced separately, but we'll just get to them when we hit them in the solicits. We'll just go in the order they're on here on Newsarama. So first up is Batman issue 125. Of course, it's still Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez on here.
You say still? Is this not the first issue?
Is it? I thought it was June.
I think it was announced early.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the first. 125 is the first issue of it.
125 is.
Is it?
Yeah, because as he joins legendary artist Jorge Jimenez.
I haven't gotten to the cover that I know the cover is for his first issue, which is why I'm doubting that you're right.
There is like 10 covers though. So.
Yes, but I'm not seeing the one that I know is the cover to his first issue.
Unless he's on there, and this is where the major stuff happens, right?
Is the one that you're
Jimenez.
Is the cover you're thinking of the one where they showed us that new logo last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
like
in black and white right
no,
here.
I'm not thinking of that one. No.
Oh.
Are you
Which one are you
sure you're
thinking of?
thinking of the right cover?
I'm positive. I'm positive. I'm positive there's a cover.
Oh, there it is right there. No, that's the new logo one. Never mind.
I mean, if this is his first issue, it's his first issue, but I swear there was when they announced him on the book, when they first announced him, they showed a cover with that announcement that is not in this batch. Maybe they're going to use it later. I don't know, but it's not there.
I'm going to find this. Are you confusing it with the Knight?
No, I'm not confusing it with the damn Knight. Anyway, it's a special big issue, but it looks of it. Is it? I don't know, is that just a normal size with that?
Yeah, I mean, it is
pages.
125. Yeah, that's his first issue.
It's an extra $1, yeah, so there's some more pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yes. Look, they've announced it so long ago that I feel like it's already been a thing, okay? Right? It's,
So what did the cover look like that you're talking about, Pete? Do you remember?
Paint us a word picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only
Did it have Batman on it?
It did have Batman on it. Of course
That's a
it
good
had.
start.
Right.
Did it have Robin?
No. I don't think it was a Robin.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not like... It's like, it's not there, and I know if I see it, but I can't necessarily describe it either. We can move on. It's fine. There's some nice covers there though. Like I'm looking through these, and there's some pretty ones. I like the one, the blue cape's quite nice. It's always nice to see that look return.
I like the one where the bats make the face. I think that's quite clever.
Sure, that's not bad. There's I think it's the main cover. Well, it may not be the main cover. I don't know. I mean, who knows which one it is?
Talking about the red and black one?
No, it's the one after that, where Batman's jumping down and there's the bats like in the sky above him.
I think the main cover is actually, I want to say it's the last one. Yeah, it's that one, the one with. It's got the new logo on at the top, and it's got there's a black and white version as well. It's like Batman in purple with like Robin jumping out in front.
Yeah, well, I think it's just maybe purple lighting rather than.
Yeah. I didn't say he was like, I don't want to say he's dressed in purple, but he's in purple.
Aye. Which is strategical in the colouring part because the yellow of Robin's cape contrasts more with purple than it would with the grey. So,
Presumably, why a very smart colorist made that decision.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it was a smart strategical choice.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's the main cover because it's a wraparound.
It probably is. Yeah, but what's the one that's got the logo on it? Usually the one that has the logo on it is the main cover.
Yeah.
Especially since DC at a certain point stopped putting the logos on the variants.
Also, I found an article from a month ago when they announced this, and that's the cover they shared in that article. So I don't know what the hell Pete's going on about.
I don't either because
there was another one.
I looked at 4 different articles from February, and they all had the same one. So unless they're gaslighting him, which is very possible.
They've all gone back and changed their articles just to screw with Pete. It's possible, but I mean, it's also possible he just imagined it.
Yep.
Hold on, I'm going to.
Just doesn't want to admit he's wrong. Are you looking it up as well now? He is.
Looking
Do you
for
know
it.
what? Well, articles can be changed. They can be updated. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
All of them en masse change their articles.
DC put out a mandate. They wanted everything corrected to match their new art. And they said, change your articles or we're never sending you a review copy ever again. So all of these shills and money men all just changed it at a whim on behest of DC. How dare they? But yes,
definitely what happened.
Obviously, we're excited for Zdarsky's run. It's interesting we're getting a new team on Detective and Batman the same month, so it's kind of like a new era for Batman, which is cool. We'll get to Detective in a little bit, of course. But
feels like a freshening up, and after Dark Crisis launching, that's nice.
It's gonna be the post Future State era, I assume, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
I could put it that way, I suppose. Yeah,
just in the sense that obviously we've had a couple of runs since Future State. Well, not on tech, but on Batman we've had the Williams stuff as well, but it still felt like it's firmly in that Future State era.
But speaking of Detective Comics 1062, the new team which was teased. I mean, the team was announced, but we didn't know what book it was at first. It was just
and it was such a good team. I was like, it doesn't matter what book this is. It's going to be my most anticipated book.
So they said Ram V, Raphael Albuquerque, and it was like, oh, what is this? And then 2 days later, it's the new Detective Comics team. This is what we're doing.
Turns out there's a backup by Cy Spurrier and Danny.
Yeah.
It's like, my God, all cylinders on this book.
This I might have to start picking this back up physically because I've been reading tech for a very long time now, digitally. But for Ram V and Albuquerque.
I am sad that Tamaki's run is ending because I've really loved it, but it does always smooth things over when the new team's excellent. So
it does.
I'm really upset about it.
Fair, once you include the 12 issues of the Tower, like as part of the run, and
which
think
I
of
am,
that as 12 issues and not 3 months, it's actually not a small run.
No,
it's probably small omnibus size, but probably just about, I'd say.
So, in terms of monthly schedule, it's a couple of years worth, maybe two and a half.
So. And this frees up Tamaki to do something new too. Yeah, and
I hope it is something at DC. I would love to see her on another book.
Yeah,
maybe there's something else in the Solicits that we haven't got to yet. Slip in.
But this are you going to go into what it's about, Pete?
It's a completely new team. So I'll read what this Solicit says. Gotham Nocturne Part 104 Overture. It's a new era for the Detective of the Night as we introduce award-winning new team Ram V, Raphael Albuquerque. Something is terribly wrong with Batman. No matter what test Bruce takes, nor the numbers he counts, the greatest detective in the world can't pin down the source of this creeping dread, of his own inner demons and the looming mortality. Meanwhile, real demons roam the shadows as an ancient melody haunts the Gotham night. Here now, the curtains rise and the eerie tune streams in. Who is human? Who is demon? I keep saying Hugh. Who is demon? Who is human? Who is human? God damn it! Don't put
Hugh is human.
Don't put who and human in the same goddamn sentence, you bastards. Who is to tell? As Batman investigates the songs and the demons of Gotham, he is forced to confront the oldest question: whether there has been a demon within him all along, and if so, what does it want, and why hasn't it taken over yet? What I'm getting from this is Ram V is not shying away from the horror influence that he seems to have in a lot of his work.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's actually a new editor on this book for this month.
Oh,
Jess Chen, who has been the Batgirl editor since like the start of Rebirth. She did some a lot of stuff for DC over the last few years.
I want to say she's been editing even the main Bat book for a while. She not?
I don't know about Batman. I'm not certain.
I feel like she's had the title of Bat Family Editor for a while, even if she wasn't editing specifically
it's her
the main two books.
And Welgiaz, who did the Man Bat book.
Yeah, I don't know. I know she's been doing Batgirl and Batgirls primarily, but is moving on to being the tech editor here, which is part of why we've got a new team. So it'll be a completely new approach. They're using gothic opera as the two-word pitch as to just the tone of what it's going to be. And oh man, I'm so into this.
I figured you would be. Once I heard opera and Ram V, I go, "Oh, Connor's gonna be all over this."
Yeah.
Right. And then Albuquerque, of course. Who doesn't like Albuquerque's art? And then when I saw Cy Spurrier and Danny on the backups.
And it doesn't mention it there, but Matt, you mentioned they're doing a Gordon backup.
Yeah. Yep, that's the first. So Cy Spurrier said that the first backup is going to be about Gordon and him coming back to Gotham, and basically the what the backups are about is him investigating all these little weird things in Gotham. So yeah, which after Danny, after the Arkham book, right? That feels right in line.
Do you know what so there's nice covers here as well. There's a Behermo one, which obviously you know what Behermo looks like. It's typical Behermo. But I really like it because it's Batman in the daylight. So it's a typical Batman, crouching on a rooftop. But it's in the daylight. And the I like how subtle it is, but there's actually a bunch of bats making the bat symbol against the sun. Not unlike, say, the opening of Batman Begins, but I like that it's not super in your face. It's just subtle enough that it just doesn't feel like it's overbearing.
Yeah. No, it's great. All the covers are great. So you got the main one, which is actually the first cover on Newsarama. You've got the kind of the tarot card one.
Yep, the Hangman.
Yeah, and then the opera, like the
playbill.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. They hand out it's so good.
This looks like a Batman opera that would be called Deflator Mouse, something like that.
Even on that where the ridiculously ornate half bat mask and then the devil horn for the demon stuff on the other side. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got new teams on Batman and Detective, and I've loved the current Detectives team, and I did really enjoy Tynion's Batman, and it was a little bit more up and down, but that was a pretty short run. Obviously, he's just doing his little crossover just now, before we get to this stuff in July. But the two main Bat books both getting a fresh new set of teams, and Zarsky and Ram V are not writers that I am upset about taking over those books by any means.
Not at all.
It really feels like Ram V's rising up the ranks. He's been kind of inching his way up over the last couple of years, and
you know what he feels like to me, and this is going to sound like I'm just naming people I'm a fan of, but it's a very similar trajectory to what Tynion had. In that, started on a few little Tynion did backups. Ram V started on some anthology books. And then they get some side smaller books, some little minis here, like Tal and stuff. And then we're going to give you Detective after you've showed yourself you can handle a few things. Here's Detective now. So
yeah. So that's cool. So moving on, Flashpoint Beyond issue 3. Not much to say, I don't think.
Very confused about that. I thought Flashpoint Beyond was twice a month, and we were already.
Yeah, we said that last Solicits as well.
Yes, and last Solicits was issue 5. That's why I'm confused. I don't know if there's some weird resoliciting going on here, and they've changed the schedule, or
that's probably what it is.
Issue 6.
All I know is there's a variant cover with Ivy, so that's cool.
Yeah. Did we actually get Solicits for 3 issues last time? I don't remember if we did.
I just checked. DC June Solicits was Flashpoint Beyond issue 5.
So maybe they messed that one up.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember having this exact same like exchange. Like, why is it only one? It was supposed to be every other week.
Yeah, no, I remember that as well. Now that you mention it, but I'm even more confused by the number of this issue.
I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just see what issue's coming out when I'm checking what's out next week, and just go from there. It seems a bit wonky. Maybe they were being too ambitious with their every other week scheduling. Dark Crisis issue 2. Obviously, this is the big event coming in the summer. Titan's Tower looks to be on fire. That is the main thing.
The House of Nightwing burns, allegedly.
See you later, Titans Academy. That's what that tells me.
So, yep, there you go. Pretty cool.
There's something very poetic about Slade and Nightwing, right? Going to war in an event. You know, just all the way back to the Judas Contract stuff.
There's obviously a few covers there. One of them is the tower burning again, but Deathstroke's on his knees in front of it, doing. He's like, no.
It's got like a Ra's al Ghul cape on with the big collar.
Yeah,
it's not green, but it's stylistic.
No, but he's definitely wearing a collar akin to Disco Nightwing.
There's actually a couple of preview pages here as well. It's like a 2-page spread of Nightwing and Deathstroke fighting.
Yeah,
it looks very pretty because Sam's here, but oh man, I could not be less excited for this book.
I'm gonna read the shit out of it. It might be terrible. I might have event fatigue two pages into Dark Crisis 1, but I'm still gonna read it.
Well, there's your two extreme ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. You're the guy that's seen every Fast movie in the theater, Connor. Are you surprised?
Honestly, not at all.
Yeah, see? Well, everyone but Tokyo Drift, because I was like, no one's in this.
Oh, the asterisks start coming out now. Yep. Next up, we got Dark Crisis World Without a Justice League Superman issue 1. It's a really convoluted title, but this is a one-shot tie-in by Tom King, writing, and art by Chris Burnham. So,
I'm sure it's a one-shot and not like a couple of issue mini?
Doesn't say of...
It doesn't say either way, yeah.
No.
Admittedly, yeah. It normally would say one shot as well, admittedly, but I'm going to err on the side of one shot.
That's fair, yeah.
Mainly because the title sounds like a one shot.
That's true. It sounds like Worlds Without a Justice League, and then there'll be a series of, Superman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe they'll all be Tom King. Maybe it'll feel like a series, but I suspect it might just be different teams. And
I'll be willing to bet it's all just random.
Yeah.
Thrown together.
Well, because there's a main story, and then it looks like there's a backup too.
Yeah, there's a backup by Brandon Thomas and Chuck Brown.
Yeah.
And art by Fico Ocio.
Yeah, there was a really nice cover though with Superman flying with Robin, which is interesting visual.
It's okay.
I was just laughing at Matt looking over at the side like he heard some sort of...
No, I did. I don't know if it's a smoke detector, and if it's going to be a problem, we might have to pause. But we'll see.
Dark Crisis Young Justice issue 2. This is the tie-in miniseries. This is issue 2 of 6 here. This is the Megan Fitzmartin written with Laura Braga art. So, I'm not super pumped for this still, but I'm curious to at least check it out once the event's going and seeing what it actually adds to it. But I've got a feeling it's not going to be that great. But
yeah,
mainly just because none of the creative team are like filling me with hope.
I like Laura Braga a lot.
Oh, sure, but writing side not as exciting.
That's fair.
The Flash 784.
Dark Crisis tie-in.
Yep. Which makes sense. You got Pariah on the cover. I guess this is the one main book though that it makes sense to tie into it, just because we're dealing with Barry. Because this is about looking for Barry.
Where Barry's at.
Yeah. So makes a decent amount of sense at least. Then we have Black Adam, The Justice Society Files, Hawkman, issue 1. That is a mouthful. What was it with these
This is
colons?
clearly a movie tie-in, and if that wasn't clear, I mean, let me rephrase that. Tie-in implies connected to the movie. That's not fair, but more cash-in on the fact that there's a movie coming out. If that wasn't clear, one glance at the cover will tell you all you need to know.
It looks like The Rock.
There's Dwayne.
The only interesting thing about this is that the co-writer is Brian Q. Miller, who I have not seen in a comic book in quite some time.
Hey, and I like Kevin Scott. We went over this, I think, last week.
Yep.
But Brian Q. Miller wrote an excellent run on Batgirl, starring Stephanie Brown, back in 2009 to 2011. So, I wouldn't say I'm particularly excited about this, but if this is his foot in the door to writing DC Comics again, then by all means, get him on a book.
Hey, he wrote that Smallville season 11 for years.
Yeah.
Get him on a book that I care about.
It's also got art by Scott Eaton, Marco Santucci, and Norm Rapman, which is not bad.
Yeah,
these are all pretty, middle tier names at DC that you're used to seeing. They're not just we'll throw anyone on a tie-in book. Yeah,
it's a 480-page book, so I assume it's going to be a couple, 2 or 3 shorter stories rather than one big one.
I would assume so. Yeah.
But there you go. So that's that. Then we got Artemis Wanted issue 1. This is a one-shot by Vita Ilea and art by Skylar Partridge. 48 pages, $6. Yeah, after the Trial of the Amazons event, so it's it's a sort of a kind of an epilogue style one shot to that, but just about Artemis.
Yep, and her big axe, big glowing axe.
So, given that given that we aren't reading the event, I don't imagine we'll read this.
Almost certainly not.
Try to get through that without being distracted with Matt. He's currently mouthing things to his wife about the smoke alarm.
He's pointing up. Yeah.
Next up, DC Mech issue 1. This is Kerry Porter with art by Baldmir Rivas. I have no idea what this is. This is a new miniseries, 6 issues.
Oh, we spoke about this a few weeks ago.
Did we?
This was this month's like Jurassic Park League.
Oh yeah.
Where was it? It's Justice League, but they're in mechs.
They kind of
miss me with this one.
They look like Jaegers from Pacific Rim more than anything.
Well,
because they're mechs.
That's because they're mechs. Yeah. Like Gundams.
Yeah. It's almost as if that film was inspired by anime.
I stand by my statement. There was no reason for all those responses.
They look like Jaegers. Well, Jaegers are mechs, and that's all he was trying to tell you.
Yes, but I don't care about anime, so that's my point of reference.
Yeah, this one doesn't seem like it's for me. Connor, let me know how it is.
Yeah, this looks exactly like my sort of shit.
Although I get to that last cover, and it's one of them is punching another one, and it does look kind of my shit.
It's giant robots punching each other. How is that not everyone's shit?
True.
Look at Superman standing on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I appreciate the Flashy's like head looking kind of RoboCop-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So so that's neat. I mean, this might be terrible. It's really hard to.
I mean, it could be. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be.
I mean, the giant dark side's a cool look. I mean, it looks like he has World engines on him, right? Like, so that looks pretty cool.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Then we got Young Justice Targets issue 1. This is 1 of 6 new miniseries starting. Greg Weisman writing, Christopher Jones on the art.
This is the one we spoke about last week, which is the Young Justice TV show tie-in.
I'll take your word for it. I don't remember talking about that at all, but I'll take your word for it.
No, we definitely did.
I'm not denying it. I don't remember it. So, there you go. You can tell by the cover though that it's tied to the show though, because it's intentionally looking like the characters from the show. Then we got Superman Space Age issue 1. This is the Mark Russell and Mike Allred book that we've spoken about. This is 3 prestige 80-page issues in the style of Harleen or
Superman Smashes the Klan. They were quite long issues.
And put Batman Imposter. I wasn't thinking Superman Smashes the Klan. Although, was that eventually Dark Black Label? Because I was trying to compare it to Black Label
so.
books.
I don't know actually.
Smashes the Klan was originally out on their kids one, whatever.
It was originally a kids YA graphic novel, but then they put it out as like 3. I think it was 80 pages.
Yeah, but I don't think that was actually Black Label, which is why I never thought of that one. I was thinking it's just the other books like this. I mean, I don't think this doesn't say Black Label, but it's reminding me of Black Label more than anything else.
Yeah, one Dark Knight. Things like that.
Yeah.
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 I mean, this might be very intentionally not Black Label because they want to sell it to all ages.
I was
But
gonna say, yeah, this is not. By the way, I think this is longer than most of those prestige issues that we're talking about tend to be about 60, 65 pages. This is 80. So seems a little bit longer than some of those.
Yeah, this looks like exactly my kind of thing. I'm so
100%.
in that first cover right there. It's got like the life aspects of Superman.
Yeah, just in all the pencil sketches.
Yep.
It's kind of great, yeah.
I like the one where he's in space.
Well,
one's
then
cool
this is
too.
the book for you.
Oh, what's been the cover? I like the cover that he's in space.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying he's probably going to be in space a lot.
The third cover looks like a very pulpy, like this almost could be a cover for Action Comics right now. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes, it seems like an interesting book. I'm curious to check it out. It's definitely more interesting to me than like. I'll be honest. Most of the miniseries that we've stumbled into so far have all been varying degrees of. Well, this is random as hell. This, while still relatively random, feels a bit more prestigious, and not just because it's in the prestige format.
I mean, most of them up until this one have been tie-ins to either Dark Crisis or there's the Trial of the Amazons spin out one. The only kind of really random one so far has been DC Mech, right?
And the Young Justice one. It's tied into a TV show.
I mean, sure, but yeah, again, also still tying into something else.
Yeah, or tied into a movie, or tying it, like,
yeah.
That's what I mean by random. I don't necessarily mean it's not tying to something. Point is that none of them are that exciting. It's just weird to go through, like, oh, here's 6 issue ones in a row, but all of them just feel kind of, oh, it's just another weird miniseries that I'm not really that interested in. Whereas this one actually feels, oh no, this is a big creative team. They're treating it like a big deal. It feels high concept. So, next up, Batman White Knight presents Red Hood issue 1. This is a 2-issue mini in the White Knight universe. So, issue 1 of 2. There you go. Not much to add, really. Although, I should mention that Murphy is co-writing with Clay McCormick. So,
an art by Simone DeMeo.
Yeah. And then speaking of White Knight, they've got Curse of the White Knight Deluxe Edition coming out as well. They've solicited that here. So, cool. Batman Superman World's Finest issue 5. This is the Mark Waid Dan Moore book. So, yeah, nice cover.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
Nice and old school. I like that variant too, actually. Superman with the heat vision, Batman's in the background. It's sort of the painted cover.
It's a Matina cover, right?
It's Matina esque. I don't know if it actually is Matina. It is Matina. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh yeah, sometimes you get like an artist just similar, because there's at least one similar artist that every so often I mistake for Matina.
Oh, I know the one you're on about, yeah.
But DC versus Vampires All Out War issue 1 of 6. But this is Matthew Rosenberg and Alex Packnadel with art by Pascal Colano. So let's read what this is actually. One of the last secret underground human cities is facing total annihilation, and its leader, John Constantine, must plan a suicide mission to assassinate a key lieutenant in the Vampire Empire. Against unreal odds, and with an unlikely team including Booster Gold, Deathstroke, and Mary Marvel, does the Hellblazer have one more trick up his sleeve. A gritty, violent, monochromatic companion series to DC versus Vampires. Which is a brutal story. So, do you know what I think is interesting about this is that clearly DC versus Vampires is doing well enough, because not only have they greenlit a couple of one-shots, they've now greenlit a 6-issue tie-in miniseries as well.
Yeah. It's also interesting to me to see Alex Packnadel's name attached to this, because he is another member of the White Noise Studio, which is Ramvi, Dan Waters, Packnadel, and there's O'Sullivan as well. So I think this will be the third one now working at DC.
Ramvi opened the door, held it open, let all his
Pretty much
friends in.
like, hey guys, come on, get in.
It's just funny to me.
I don't know if that's bad, because Waters has been pretty good so far.
Yeah.
So
Sure. I think what's funny to me about this is just the idea that this 12-issue book, which was kind of just an anomaly that Tynion kind of drew up because he had nothing else to do, And then things changed. So then Rosenberg came along and decided to script it, or was given it to script. But
and now Rosenberg's coming up with the ideas for this one, presumably.
yeah, but now it's like expanding beyond. And it was one thing where it was just, here's an extra one shot, just to sort of like maybe.
And then there was a second one shot.
Yeah. And there was a 6-issue minute, and it's like, oh wait, this is going to end up being just as long spanning as Deceased now, by the sounds of it. But it's, because it wouldn't surprise me if there's another couple of minis or one shots added onto this.
I mean, I think this will have more issues than Deceased, right? Because Deceased was, if you look at the page count, it was essentially 3 6-issue minis, right?
Oh, just 3. Because also Unkillables.
Oh, I forgot that we haven't. There's a third Deceased coming.
There's a third Deceased coming, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was forgetting. I was thinking of the 2 that we'd had plus Unkillables is kind of like 18 issues.
So forget the digital series for now. You're looking at 24 issues of normal page count worth.
Yeah, and this is going to be 20 odd.
I don't know.
12, 6, and 2 one shots. So assuming the one shots are normal sized.
Alright, so 18.
That's 20. 12, 6, and 2 one shots. How is that not 20?
Okay, yes, that's 20. I'll be honest, I thought the main series was 10.
You're the one who just said it was 12.
Yes, but then I reverted to thinking it was 10.
Oh, God.
Mainly, I just wanted to accuse you of saying 20 odd when it was under 20, when 20 odd is 20 and a little bit extra.
We've been over this before, not getting into it. But the point was 20.
If it's just under 20, you can say 20-ish or about 20. But
They are
20
interchangeable.
odd, but 20 odd is like 21 or 22.
Matt, do you want to weigh in on this vital debate?
No, but I like the way that Adriel looks on the cover. Yeah, Adriel, Bane, Deathstroke, Booster, Deadman, Mary. There's like, whoever put this team together was like, we're going to get him to read this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to try it anyway. I mean, we're enjoying DC versus
but like,
vampires enough.
I haven't read the
feel
last issue of it yet, but I saw Matt's tweet about it, and I've been putting it off ever since.
Matt quite liked the issue. Don't let that tweet trick you.
Yeah, don't let that tweet go. That's just minor quibbles. I also had a brief discussion with Matt Rosenberg about stuff, and I was able to defend my point, and I got likes from him, but no response, meaning I think I stumbled across something.
It's a very one-sided discussion, isn't it?
Yes. And again, I wasn't trying to be, shitty or anything. It was just we haven't seen how vampirism affects the Kryptonians because we don't know if it's biological or magical. And
I told you this was definitely going to come up in the book.
Oh yeah, and I said that because I quote tweeted him and said, this is my main sticking point with the book right now, and that's what's driving me insane. And he kind of, flippantly was like, "Oh, so the thing that we haven't explained yet, it's driving you insane, huh?" And I was like, "Well, no, not that." And then when I went into it, biological versus magical, I feel like I struck a nerve, and he can't say anything, right?
Yeah, which probably means there's plans, but you can't talk about them yet.
Exactly. So, but no, Rosenberg's quickly becoming one of my favorites just because of how he conducts himself on Twitter.
The last issue was very good, honestly, Car. It was a very interesting reveal.
I will read it. I'm not like falling behind. I haven't read the last issue of Swamp Thing yet either because it was just that was on a week where I wasn't here and I haven't caught up with my books.
Get on that one.
Yeah, that was also very good.
Clearly, I'm excited to read that at some point. I'm definitely not skipping Swamp Thing.
Yeah. So, but no. Anyways,
speaking of possible cover artists that I mistake Mattina for, the second cover on this is Mattina-esque, but it's not Mattina.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you're on about.
It's Kale Nigu.
New.
There you go. But
there's a Stoko cover.
Scary.
Is the Stoko cover there?
Oh, it is.
Oh yeah, I see it. But yeah, so yeah, All Out War. So there's a DC versus Vampires 6-issue mini, which I assume is just running alongside the main book because that'll still be going.
Well, we'll find out later, won't we? If it's still being solicited or if it's on a break.
I'd be surprised if it were on a 6-month break, though. It's one thing it being off for a month or two while this starts, but I don't see it.
It might alternate months.
Multiversity Teen Justice issue 2.
I forgot this existed.
So did I.
Okay, that's all right then. I don't feel too bad about it.
There's so many weird minis right now that I just don't remember them existing.
It's a shame that a lot of them aren't appealing to me.
Yeah, that's the bigger problem, is that a lot of them just aren't striking much interest. We got Batman versus Robin Road to War.
We're just collections now.
Well, we're not done with it.
The promotional collections.
We're not just at collections though. That implies we're done.
I just wanted to specify this was a collection, not just.
Oh, I was just about to say what it was.
Go on.
Why must he jump in? Like, I barely finished reading the title, and he has to interject with information that I'm obviously about to say.
Continue.
If you either keep arguing, I'm gonna fix my smoke detector, and you guys can carry on. I'll come back. You know, or we can just get through Solicits, and then I can do it.
So yeah, it's a collection. That's it. That's all. Even though there's a lot of writers in this, actually. What is this?
Teen Titans Annual, Detective Comics, 2-part backup.
It's basically where Batman and Robin had, a falling out, and now they're putting it back together for Shadow War.
That 2-part backup that it says that sets the stage for the new chapter of life in Demian. That was what led into Robin, right?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Was that not collected in Robin?
Maybe?
I think it was, yeah. It was.
It should have been, because that was basically Zero.
Yeah.
No, it was, because the trade ended at issue 4, so yeah, it had those
two.
two.
A weird trade then. Is this for people who are enjoying Robin and are like, what the hell is going on with Robin right now? Oh, here you go.
Yeah, this is basically the end of that Teen Titans book, and like the two Detective Comics issues leading into like Robin in the backup.
Yep.
Like that's what this is. This is a weird collection. So it really took me a second to realize what the hell this was, because I saw Williamson, Tomasi, and Robbie Thompson all listed in the writers, and I'm like, what is this? But yeah, that's what it is. So Constantine, Distorted Illusions. This is one of your graphic novels.
It's another Cami Garcia one.
Yeah, Cami Garcia and Isaac Goodhart on the art, with the very young CWS Constantine on the cover.
This, you know how if you watch the TV news that we do, we talked about the Aqualad one is getting adapted for HBO Max. This is ripe for a CW adaptation already.
It does, yeah.
Well, it involves him joining a punk band, so that's pretty cool.
That is Constantine's past.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That's legit?
Mucous Membrane, yeah. That's his band.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm not surprised. I don't think you're the market for this book, to be fair, though.
No, that's fair. Dead Man Tells the Spooky Tales. That's a good title. I appreciate that title. It's not a graphic novel. Written by Franco. Just one word. I'm not familiar with this Franco.
Me neither.
But cool. A lot of artists though, but it says Spooky Tales, so I assume it's one writer, but it's an anthology style book with all these different artists taking a story each, which is a neat idea. I appreciate the pulpiness of the cover, particularly the. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the art style per se, but I like what it's going for, and I like the font of the title. The sort of the goo dripping title.
Why don't we have like a Spectre or Dead Man book that's like Tales from the Crypt?
Because apparently that won't sell.
Yeah, I don't know.
They should do it. And basically,
them.
all of the writers at DC who like to write horror books just rotate through them. Like give Ram V an issue 1 month, give Tynion an issue 1 month. I'm sure they'd have fun with just little short stories they can do in one issue.
Kind of like the like Batman Black and White, like those color anthologies that we've got, but for the horror side of DC Universe.
There you go. The Batman One Dark Knight collection, solicited here. Obviously, we're still waiting on issue 2. We just had issue 2, but this is the hardcover, which is coming out in September, which seems like a reasonable enough time to get issue 3 out.
It's pretty normal, yeah.
So that's cool. I Am Batman Volume 1, of course, that's the John Ridley, the new Jace Batman book being collected. And then we got Robin and Batman. This is the Jeff Lemire book that finished recently. 3 issues. Was pretty good. So that's cool.
Enjoyable.
We got Harley Quinn, the animated series, Volume 1, the Eat, Bang, Kill Tour. So that's collected. Yeah, so... and then Harley Quinn, 30 Years of the Maid of Mischief, the deluxe edition.
Oh, that collects some random bullshit.
Yes, it does.
That's a lot of single issues it's collecting. Because you
got 2 issues of Gotham City Sirens.
Do you get? Because when you get to the solicits, and you look at the end of the solicitation, and it'll say, Detective 982 to 989 plus maybe like Batman issue 72 because it is relevant.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a list of lots of one issues.
Yeah, if you thought that that Robin book was a mess of collections,
yeah,
this time they didn't even bother listing everyone involved. It was just various, written by various, art by various. It's cool.
Oh, because it would have literally been a different creator team for every single issue.
Yeah,
barring the 2 Gotham City Sirens issues, which I assume are the same.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Oh dear. So yeah, one of those random collections that I would never want. It'd just be weird. Wonder Girl Homecoming. Joelle Jones. So this is collecting issue 187. It has the 2 Future State issues, and it has the Trial of the Amazons 2-issue tie-in, which is a bit weird because I was under the impression that was like parts 5 and 8 of the story.
It is.
So that's a weird choice, but
it's also interesting that they're throwing an Infinite Frontier 0 in there, and
maybe
it says that, so that usually means the whole issue rather than sections.
It usually does, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's a slight typo or mistake, and it's actually just the part that's relevant to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say otherwise that's a lot of, because that wasn't a short issue, that was a pretty oversized issue.
Yeah. But I appreciate though that the 2 Future State issues and her entire 7-issue book are in one trade.
I think that's important for that to exist like that.
Yeah. So that's fair. It's a shame that I went downhill and I wasn't really into it by the end. I didn't even read issue 7 because I just didn't care anymore. But at least on a collecting standpoint, I appreciate that. Wonder Woman Black and Gold, obviously the collection of those Black and Gold anthology issues. Not much to say. Really nice cover though. I like the yellow or the gold popping on the black and white cover.
That's Bartel, and if you like how that looks, the gold popping, that might be the book for you because that's kind of the aesthetic of the whole book. Yeah.
So, but back out of the proper single issues then. Action Comics 1045, our Action Comics run of Dreams is continuing.
Interestingly, the conclusion nears, it says.
Yeah. I will say that second cover I do not like that much. Superman's face looks weird.
Yep.
Not for me. That's the.
I mean, it's fine. There's a great regular cover.
Oh sure, but don't like it. Is he standing in profile and it still is kind of weird. But cool.
It looks like a statue of Caesar, like down at Caesar's Palace.
We got Aquaman, The Flash, Void Song issue 2. This is the Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly with art by Vasco Georgiev. So that's issue 2 of 3.
Gorgiev.
Or Gorgiev, sorry. But this is these are like 3 oversized issues, not quite the the 80 pagers, but 56 pages each. So interesting they're trying that with some of these. Otherwise, because this feels like it would just be a regular 6-issue mini. They've just decided to package it into 3 bigger chapters. It's just interesting.
The cynic in me suggests is, and there'll be a little bit more on this on one of the books later, assuming that it came true with what was rumored. I haven't actually checked yet. But I wonder if this is kind of a way of manipulating the orders, because you've got to order. You only got to order 3 issues. You're more likely to stay invested over 3 issues, even if they are more expensive. There's presumably lesser. A lower drop-off rate.
That's probably true, just because the longer a book goes on, the more people drop off. So if you do it in 3 instead of 6, it's easier to get to that end point with more people keeping the book. Also, and this is even more cynical perhaps, is that it means they have to order the final issue of the series before they've sold any of the first issue.
I mean,
kind of messed.
They put their initial orders, but the final order cut-off's usually about a month before, so they'll have definitely sold the first issue. And possibly the second, or the second will be like just coming out around the time they'll be putting in final order for the third.
Still though, it does. And I'm not saying it's a terrible idea. Like if we end up with if all 6-issue minis become 3-issue minis that are all double-sized issues, that's not the worst thing in the world. Like,
yeah, it makes it a little bit more of a gamble to try the first issue because it is more expensive, and it's more of a commitment just in terms of reading time. Sometimes that can put me off. Like where if there's a 20-page book that I'm like not super hot on, but I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe I'll give it a try. It's 20 pages. But then you tell me, oh, there's 50 pages of this book that I'm like,
If you're just looking at one book, that's a fair point. But I think if you're looking at a sort of macro level, if they're all switching to this format, then theoretically they'll be evened out so that you'll be getting the same amount of pages per week, give or take, if all the minis switch to this format. That said, though, sometimes they'll put them all out in the 1 week and then there'll be 3 weeks of nothing because they've done that to us before.
Dickheads.
But in theory, it should be okay. Aquaman Andromeda issue 2, Ram V, with Christian Morris is the Prestige Plus book that.
So I mean, these Prestige books, 48 pages, 60 pages, 80 pages was big for those Prestige books. I was right.
Fine, you were right. Have a cookie.
Oh, I would love a cookie, but I mean, I have to get vegan cookies, and they're a bit mediocre.
Maybe they'll be nice and replace the milk with some anthrax.
Yeah.
That's not where I thought that sentence was going.
I think I prefer the anthrax to whatever Matt was thinking.
I just thought maybe whatever, lactose alternative. Thought Pete was being nice. No.
Oh yeah, you thought Pete was being nice.
Yeah.
He's been a little bitch today, okay? He's getting. Besides, people told me last week to keep picking on him. It's their favourite part of the show. It's fine.
It was 2 weeks ago they told you that.
It was last week.
No, they told you before the show last week.
They told me for episode 300, which was last week's episode. Look at him. He's picking a fight over this weird technicality.
Can we get this done, guys? Come on. It's Solicits.
Anyway, yeah, so Aquaman Andromeda. So yeah. Obviously, it's Ram V and Christian Ward. Ram V alone makes it something that we're excited about.
Cover makes it look like Black Manta has a lightsaber, and that's cool.
That is cool.
Wait, is this something they cover? Oh, that's okay, there you go. Aquaman issue 6. So that's is that not
Still
many?
going.
Oh, it's still ongoing. That's right. I think I said this last month as well.
Yeah, this was part of what the rumors were. Interestingly, although it doesn't seem to have been confirmed, there was a lot of talk that this was actually going to get cancelled. This issue, and the talk was that it was always actually planned as a 6-issue mini, but they didn't want to tell retailers that because retailers tend to order less of a mini than they do of an ongoing. So they were like, "Hey, retailers, it's an ongoing," and then it was internally they were referring to it as a mini, but they would just extend it if it sold well. It did not sell well. Apparently, issue 2 dropped to something like 19,000 orders, which was pretty low. Although then they did announce like an extra Jim Lee cover to like boost the orders a bit, but either way, it didn't sell too hot. So there was a lot of expectation that this was just going to have a final issue stamp here.
I mean, it's a Dark Crisis tie-in, so maybe it's just going to exist to be a tie-in for a couple issues, and then finish.
That, or they're going to do that shitty thing that there's been a bit of a trend recently where they don't tell us it's the final issue until next month Solicits, and it's just not there.
I'd rather didn't do that. I like them to be upfront about it. But
I do as well, yeah.
But hey, it's a shame I'm not invested in like this expanding Aqua line because like I really was into Aquaman for a long time between the Abnett and then the Kelly Sue stuff. But just the one or two that I tried of the new era kind of just were a bit mediocre. Batgirls issue 8 is coming out. More in the most recent issue later on because I read it this week.
Yeah, some fun covers.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Batman Beyond Neo Year issue 4, so that's still going. 6-issue mini, so issue 4 or 6.
Yeah.
Batman Fortress issue 3. This is the Gary Whitta book, which has not started yet. This is an 8-issue series. So cool. We got Batman Killing Time issue 5, so that's the penultimate issue of that bad boy. In July, we got Batman the Night issue 7, which is 7 of 10. So that'll still be going when Chip's on the main book. We'll still have his miniseries going.
we're doing the Zatanna stuff in this issue.
Yeah. Booster him some magic. Looks like blood magic on the cover, though. That's not good, man.
I'm sure it's just a dramatic effect for the cover.
The variants
just kind of wouldn't dabble with such forbidden things.
Yeah, the variant's kind of funny to me. It's like Zatanna's firing like a lightning bolt through her legs to like propel herself up, and she's got this sort of look in her face that she's like, "Wee!"
Yeah,
I thought there was something really funny about it.
Bruce looks terrified.
We got Batman Urban Legends issue 17. Yeah, so a bunch of stories in there, which is cool. We got Black Adam issue 2. Remember, this is the new Christopher Priest book. That's starting in June. So
with a very young looking Black Adam there.
Yeah, it does look very young in that cover, doesn't he?
A little bit teenagery.
Maybe there's some flashbacks in this issue or something.
I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah, and it's not just like the art being weird. Blood Syndicate season 1 issue 3. So this is more
Milestone stuff.
Yeah, Milestone. That's the word I was looking for. Catwoman issue 45 by Tini Howard. So that's still going. And that would be a very nice cover, although Tim's looking a bit weird.
I agree. I was like halfway down it, and I was like, oh, I really like that cover, like the aesthetic and the design.
Yeah, and then you get
then I
Tim's
got
face.
to Tim's face. I'm like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, but then on the other cover, it looks like the Decal cover. It looks like Michelle Pfeiffer.
It does. Then there's one with the neon like meow signs.
Yeah, and then,
that's your classic Jenny Frisian covers at this point.
Yeah, then there's your Frisian cover, and we're just spoiled with them at this point.
Yeah,
there's so many, and they're all amazing.
Yeah, DC versus Vampire issue 7. So yeah, it's not taking time off. It'll be running alongside. It's actually interesting because that's issue 7, meaning that
they'll finish at the same time.
Yeah, they'll both run concurrently until they finish, unless one of them gets delayed by a month somewhere. But in theory, they should finish.
Also, some great variants.
I'm just going to.
Which is good because the main cover is Killer March. So.
Is that Killer March?
Yeah, covered by Gil March.
It's got his signature on it as well.
Yeah, it's not bad though.
Pete's like, I don't hate it. This can't be Gil March.
Yeah,
it doesn't look as bad as his stuff usually does. To be honest,
look at like his Green Arrows, like chest and shoulders and down the arms.
I mean, there's a bit of it, but the faces are not as bad as normal. Like, there's definitely
the faces aren't as bad.
It's definitely more restrained. I do agree. The cover with Vampire, Superman, and Wonder Woman is better.
I'm a big fan of the Canary Slayer one.
The Canary, yeah, and let's be honest, there's some Buffy referencing going on here.
Probably.
Just because a blonde is being a vampire slayer does not make it a Buffy reference.
Come on.
Hey Pete, Vampironica, which I read through this week.
Oh yeah.
Very, very much Buffy, but not. I mean, I don't want to kill it right now.
Is this an Archie thing? Is this?
Yeah. It was the Smallwood one. I found out.
So
this is issues have Smallwood art.
So this is Veronica from Archie as a vampire slayer.
Yep.
Okay.
Some very Buffy-esque moments because teenage stuff.
Well, just watch season 11 of the show. Will probably have some vampire plots in it, and they'll.
Season 11, I'm expecting at the end of this season.
I was going to say, yeah, next season surely.
They've got a lot of other wacky plots to get through first. So you get Deathstroke Inc. issue 11. Remember this switch to Ed Brisson.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Deathstroke year 1, which I don't know. Maybe it's a nice cover though. I mean, it's
family
Cian,
cover is cracking me up though. It looks like a portrait of a stuffy old family.
Why does Rose look so young?
Yeah, because I think that's one of those ones where they're trying to show that. But why is that Damien? Like,
unless it's supposed to be like in the past, that's why they both.
Oh, sure.
Like that.
That's
all right,
so
the old one's not dead. So the sort of normal man is Deathstroke, and the really old one is Deathstroke's father. Then is that what we're saying?
That's maybe, but he's holding the set, so I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't, because also that one's looking like Damien, but I know it's not. So is that supposed to be?
Because I would have said
Grant.
Because I would say Deathstroke's in the back. I'd say maybe Joseph's the older son. And then
because Grant was older than Joseph. Joseph's down here, you would guess. Unless this is meant to be Respawn.
Yeah, because I had this when the young kid was Respawn.
Yeah.
But Rose is meant to be like older than him.
Right.
And she looks like she's younger or the same age.
But it's so funny to me. Just it looks like one of those stuffy family portraits, but it's Deathstroke.
It's a weird thing. We got Duo issue 3. This is the Greg Pak book. This is part of Maelstone as well.
Yep.
Fables 153 is coming out.
It's a good cover.
We got Future State Gotham issue 15. And then I'm
surprised that's still going.
As am I, to be honest. In fact, is that even still yeah, it's Dennis Culver now. Yeah, this moved on from, was it Williamson who was writing that to begin with? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
It was someone. It wasn't Culver, it was someone else. We got Harley Quinn issue 17. I'm sure Connor's going to enjoy that when he gets to it.
Make me miserable. Matt, they're doing wrestling with masks.
Nope.
That's boxing, not wrestling.
I realized that when I saw the gloves. I just saw the masks and then just assumed that they were doing like a luchador thing, but they're not. And yeah, never mind.
No, but I mean it's Rosmo, so absolutely not.
I Am Batman issue 11's coming out, and then we got Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes issue 5. Yes, that Bendis miniseries is still a thing. I know you've all forgotten, but it is a thing. Looney Tunes issue 267, Mad Magazine 27, Monkey Prince issue. That's underneath Mad Magazine and Looney Tunes. That's a bit of a demotion for it.
Alphabetical, man.
Is it? Oh, I guess it is.
L-M.
I feel like sometimes they put them at the end though, like they're right at the bottom.
Yeah,
usually.
no, this one's still alphabetical.
Yeah, we still got more stuff. Yeah, Naomi season 2 issue 5. We got Nightwing issue 94. Nightwing and Babs getting smoochy on that main cover.
Oof. Yeah, but this other cover.
Oh yeah, the
Redondo
blockbuster coming out of the city.
God damn it! Every cover is gold.
Good. And then there's a Dick and Molly cover as well, where they're
so good,
having some of Matt's sweet nectar.
Yes, but I like that Dick has a Batman cup and Wally has a Nightwing cup. That is hilarious.
Yeah. I like the idea. That's what Dick has in his cupboard. He's got various Bat family mugs.
Huh?
Yeah, that makes some sense to me.
Funny.
I like just the box of plasters as well. Just some of the band-aids for the Americans. Yeah,
well, clearly they've been out. They've been fighting criminals. They've got some scraps, some scratches. Yeah, so makes sense to me. Nubia, Queen of the Amazons, issue 2 of 4.
Which definitely has the wrong covers.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely a dinosaur cover.
Both of them. I think the second dinosaur cover is hilarious. I love it.
Yep, me too.
Describe it for the audience who can't see it.
It is a Deathstroke playing with little toy... not Deathstroke. Darkseid playing with little toy dinosaurs of the Justice League. And it's like a child Darkseid.
Right, which has the Wonder Woman Triceratops, the Allosaurus Batman, the Brachiosaurus Superman, and then what looks like an Ankylosaurus Darkseid, which that's pretty cool. But that looks like a Scotty Young variant, which...
I mean,
might be,
I'm sure we'll find out when we get to that book.
Yeah,
we'll find out when we actually get to the book that's associated with. Poison Ivy issue 2. This is the G. Willow Wilson and Marcio Takara book that's starting in June.
And oh my god, what a cover!
It is a pretty nice cover, right? Joe, it's actually nice to see her in something that's not just the typical Ivy like leave dress or something.
I like the
second cover is like that as well.
The Pam jumpsuit is very nice. I like that second cover. And then you get the Frisian with the roses. Oh man, I'm in trouble.
Oh, they're all great.
All the covers.
The main cover is the one for me out of these, to be honest. It appeals to me the most. But yeah, cool. Robin issue 16.
Still going.
Cool, yeah. It looks like we're going to be dealing with some Robin and Flatline stuff, which is nice. I've enjoyed the introduction of their relationship, so it's nice that the book will be getting back to that after War of Shadows. Superman Son of Kal-El issue 13. There was a bit of news associated with this one as well, because Nicole Maines is co-writing this one and is bringing Dreamer into the DCU via this book.
Yeah, I think she's done a couple of or at least one of the Pride anthology stories.
Just a standalone. Yeah. Whereas this is actually bringing the character into the DCU as opposed to just being like a standalone little side thing. So I saw some tweets about it. So that's neat. So the cover is obviously heavily features her, so that's cool. Yeah, that's nice. We got Task Force Z issue 10 of 12. So nice. And then we have the Jurassic League issue 3.
Wonder Dawn.
What?
Wonder Woman's dinosaur name is Wonder Dawn.
Let's see. So cool. We get Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country issue 4.
And Danny is the guest artist for that issue.
Pretty good. Oh,
Yeah,
jeez,
sure.
I don't like that cover.
There's one for each issue if people have forgotten.
And then the Swamp.
Shouldn't have scanned down.
The Swamp Thing issue 15, which is the penultimate issue of that. Unfortunately, I'm not ready for that to be over, but if that's where we're going, Nice cover, of course.
I wonder if that's a personification of the green, because that's what it kind of looks like.
And then we get Wonder Woman 789. The good news about this is that this is post crossover.
Oh, Lou Pacino on art? Are you kidding me?
Spoiling
Let's get it.
Yeah, some good stuff there. And we're still doing Dr. Psycho stuff, which is nice, which was set up before. So
he's standing on the table on the variant cover. I can't.
That's funny, Amy. That's fine. So cool. Yeah. So they're reprinting the Gotham City Sirens omnibus, although they've renamed the Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Sirens.
Of course they have.
That's a little annoying.
It's a good solid run though. If you like the Sirens, I enjoy them.
Oh sure.
The two kind of thick trades of it.
It's just the principle of the renaming to try and,
I know, but if it sells more,
yeah,
it's annoying. But I don't care enough to gatekeep it away from, like, I mean, if this is what shifts copies and this is how you get a reprinting.
Yeah, I don't want to gatekeep. I just wish they had some backbone and just try to market it properly so people will know what it is without having to plaster the literal title of the character into it. Pretty sure a big photo of Harley Quinn in the cover will do the trick, but
doesn't give you that searchability though, does it? If you're on Amazon.
What you do is you just treat it like you've got like a cast and just say starring Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy.
It still doesn't have you in your title for searching on like Amazon or your bookstore.
That's what tags are for.
Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Well, that's what they changed it to after the movie bottom that.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Joker Puzzle Box Collection. We got House of Mystery Bronze Age Omnibus Volume 3. So it's nice to reprinting old stuff like that. Commanded by Jack Kirby Volume 1. Soft cover. I assume that was already in an omnibus or a hardcover prior.
I would assume so, yeah.
New Teen Titans Omnibus Volume 1 new printing, which is notable because they actually did get all the way through that in the 3 omnibuses, or 4 omnibuses maybe even. But it's nice that they're keeping these in print. It's nice that this isn't the sort of thing where you have to be terrified that the first volume is going to go out of print. And
yeah, I think it was just this week, maybe next week, that the reprint of Gotham Central omnibus.
Yeah, it was this week. I saw photos of the stacks of copies.
Oh, there you go then.
From various shops. So that's cool. Second volume of Johnson's Action Comics being collected, which is cool. Issues 1036 to 1041. Second batch of the Joker. Second Ram v Swamp Thing trade, which is issues 5 to 10. Which means it'll be 3 trades total. Although I suspect you'll probably get a nice big deluxe hardcover of the whole thing once it's all said and done.
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah. Who's Who? Omnibus Volume 2.
And then Wonder Woman trade.
Aye. And that wraps up. That's the Solicits.
There is a notable omission with a reason. I don't know if either of you have noticed it.
It's really hard to just sort of remember what didn't come up, but go on.
That is fair, especially as the first issue has not come out yet and will not come out now.
Uh-oh.
Ever?
Well, for the foreseeable future at least. There is no resolicit date being given.
Go on.
The Tom King and Fornes book,
Oh
Danger
yeah,
Street.
yeah.
He
did address that on Twitter.
Say the title again.
Danger Street.
There you go.
Yeah. DC have told retailers that all the orders have been cancelled.
Mm-hmm.
What was the update from Twitter?
So he did say that it's just being moved, so it'll be out eventually. But DC is taking it off right now. Someone in the Forness is behind on something, and that's why.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, this has happened a few times over the last few years, and it usually just means it'll be out in 4 months later, 6 months later, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think the most recent example is Shayna's Shazam book, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It happened with the Man Bat book, which we just assumed was never going to happen, then it did.
Yep.
So. That was right around pandemic though, which is why we thought she's not going to come back. There's a whole bunch of like Marvel books.
Yeah.
Never sold the light of day.
But to be fair, DC, obviously not everything that 5G was meant to be happened, but like the stuff they solicited by and large did eventually come out.
I think everything that was solicited did come out eventually. I think there was a couple of things where it was a bit weird, where there was some of the last like final issues of things didn't, and they just didn't print the last couple of issues of a few runs, and they just ended up being like, well, just get the trade.
Yeah, there was a couple of weird oddities, but at least in those cases, it was like, okay, it's still going to exist in some form. It's not ideal. It's not perfect for people buying the issues, but at least it wasn't just...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's fair.
It's some. But there you go. That's the July solicits. But I mean, the most notable things really is just the new teams on both Batman and Detective. One of which we've known for a while. One was new this week, but unsurprisingly, the Bat Corner is going to be pretty healthy still. Come the summer.
Yeah, so. I know there. I've seen people on Twitter getting annoyed that why are all these writers that I want to see do cool things just doing Batman? I'm like, one, because Batman sells. That's where DC wants them. Because if you want to see them on books, DC wants them on Batman. Two, most writers want to work on Batman.
And to be fair, Ram V is also doing another far less mainstream book at DC at the same time, right? He's got that other book going at the same time. I mean, Zdarsky has got another Bat book, but maybe he'll do something that's not Batman related alongside the main Batman book afterwards.
Ram V also has an Aquaman book, and people don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, as like, look.
That's what I meant, by the way. That's what I was talking about. We all know
my internet persona, right? I'm annoyed by Batman, but, like, no one's making you read it. So, like, but...
I mean, more to the point, if people didn't read it quite so much, maybe they wouldn't stick every creator you like on it.
Right. So, like, but if you really like Ram V, I would feel like you can get over your Batman bias and read because it's Ram V, right? Like,
and Albuquerque, I know.
He's suddenly not gonna not be Ram V because he's writing Batman. That's what I just don't get.
Yeah, there have been probably a handful of examples of that where you take a writer and you put them on a big book like Batman and they kind of lose their voice. And those tend to be the weakest runs. And
right. But
I think that they're learning now that no, they're bringing these writers on because they have a voice, they have an audience already, and this is the appeal.
Plus, it usually means they have carte blanche to do anything they want as a second book. He's doing the Aquaman Prestige book, and he might do something else weird and wonderful after that.
I mean, look how much Tom King's got to do these days.
Exactly. Yeah, he did a long Batman run, and now he just gets to do whatever the hell he wants, and it sells like hotcakes.
When was the last time a Human Target book was published? Like
has it ever?
Right. Yeah, no, it was.
These
it was
maybe.
70s. Yeah. 70s. But like, and I know there was one that came out with the TV show back in the early 2000s, but that was a tie-in. But like, he's doing a Human Target that features the Justice League International
and has no problem selling and having critical acclaim.
Right. So, just again, if you don't like it, like, I'm probably not gonna read Batman Fortress, right? And that's fine.
I might try it just because Gary will.
Right. You know what I mean? But like, if that was, I kept getting Batman physically because Williamson's on there because I like Williamson as a writer. No one's making me, like, if I don't want to read it, I'm just not. I used to feel like I had to. Like, I made that joke this week that no one makes me read comics, and I put in parentheses, except for Pete on issue 1s. But at the same time, read what you like. Don't read what you don't like. And it's not that I'm getting so tired of seeing the too many Bat books. It's like, well, then go buy the other books that are being canceled because no one's reading them. But it turns out that no, you just want to complain, and that's what drives me the most nuts. Is because there's an argument there that there can be more diversity across books, but you have to show DC that you want that, right? Go buy more One-Star Squadron.
To an extent, there is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy with it, where the better writers are put on the books that they think they're going to sell better. So if you don't like,
we buy those because the writers on the other books are writers that are less interesting to us.
Right.
Yes.
I love Green Lantern as a concept, right? Like I'll try most Green Lantern things. The Jeffrey Thorne book I got 8 issues into, and it wasn't clicking, so I stopped reading it. I don't complain about it. I don't like. I might complain to you guys, like, oh, I kind of miss Green Lantern.
I distinctly remember both of you complaining a lot when Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp were doing their Green Lantern.
Yeah, because that was the only Green Lantern at the time. You know.
What are the Green Lanterns going on right now?
Well, I mean, you could. You have a point. You got me there.
Yeah, but here's the difference though. Because Grant Morrison, you know it's going to get to last however long they deem it.
True.
like plausible. Whereas if this run is not being received well and it's not selling well,
right.
It's just a matter of time until they say, oh, we need to give it some sort of relaunch.
Right.
So there's a slight difference there. There's a difference between, it's a respected creator who is going to be allowed to do it for as long as they want, so therefore you're stuck in that limbo for a while, versus
But yeah, I would love, like, Green Lantern especially is a thing that you can have multiple books out at one time. There's no reason, but clearly DC has found that they only want to publish one at a time right now.
It's bizarre to me because usually the reason that you would say that they're not publishing multiple books is because the market won't support it.
Right.
But the market supported 4 Green Lantern books for 5 years during New 52, pretty consistently.
Right. So, but yeah, and everyone's like always like, oh, well, Tom Taylor, Nightwing. Well, technically, Nightwing's a Batman character. Nightwing is distinctly not what I would consider a Bat book. That is strictly about Dick Grayson, being himself.
Technically, it falls under the Bat group editor, so yes, but I mean, it's not Batman directly in the same way that a lot of these other books are.
Like, I feel like it's selling because it's Tom Taylor, not because it's related to Batman, right? Like, and again, look at what Johnson's doing on Action, right? He took Superman off of Earth. He's leading. He's on the covers, he looks like a barbarian. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. I get tired of it. I feel like sometimes the internet is just people complaining just to complain, and it makes being a fan of things not as fun. Because, like I said it today, we have Action Comics where Superman's like a barbarian in a coliseum trying to instill a revolution, and now with Ram V, him coming detective, we're gonna have opera version of Batman, right? Like him tackling that, and this is why it's so cool that it's cool to be a DC fan right now, because there is stuff if you look for it. But if I could complain that the only Booster Gold thing being right now is Blue and Gold, right, and something that I'm not reading.
Hey, you're gonna get Booster in that DC Vampires book,
right? And I'm gonna read that. But like for all of that too, like Task Force Z, again, yes, Batman has shown up and Jason's the main character, but it's very much its own thing. It's this weird book,
Obviously, I'm not reading that anymore, but is it closer to a Suicide Squad book?
Yeah,
because that's what the name suggests.
Yeah, definitely. And Jason's still at odds with Batman, and Bat characters are in it, right? But it is distinctly its own thing, and I don't feel like it's leaning on Batman for sales, So again, go read what you like. If you like Aquaman, go read the Aquaman, and if it's not, then yeah, you have some, you have some.
I don't think
complaints.
You could complain about Blue and Gold, even if you really didn't like it, because it's written by the creator of Booster Gold.
Right. I want to read it. It's just I'm gonna read it in trade when it comes all out. Right.
Same.
But I'm just saying, like, I could complain that you should have Booster Gold and more things, but I don't, because I understand that Booster Gold's a niche character, right? Like, not every character is Batman. Batman does sell. as much as I hate it. So, because people, it's something just like Spider-Man sells over at Marvel. You know, Spider-Man's a brand. I have a friend that's a very close friend. He only cares about Batman and Spider-Man because those are the two cartoons he watched as a kid. You know, he doesn't care about the comics. He only cares about the movies. And guess what? Being a Batman and a Spider-Man fan can be very good or very sad, depending on what year it is.
Yeah, I said depending on the decade.
Right. So, you know, but the comics are always going to be there. So, you know, but yeah, silliness.
Yeah. Actually, just since you mentioned movies there, I suppose that it's worth mentioning the rumblings that the Warner Brothers Discovery merger has officially went through, and apparently the people in charge now are considering some sort of proper, like, complete shakeup of like what DC Entertainment is doing movie wise as a brand. Specifically saying that there needs to be some sort of Kevin Feige like figure who's actually running it.
It's been less reported on because a lot of the websites are obviously more interested in the Hollywood side of things.
Yeah.
But apparently they are looking at shaking up the comic side of it as well. They want the vertical content. Basically, they want to be able to go, this comic will then be promoted. Oh, well, we'll use that as a pitch for this movie or this TV show. They kind of want that a bit more directly in-house. Because obviously that's kind of what happens anyway. They cherry pick these things, but they want it more planned.
Which makes sense from business perspective, which we would assume.
That just sounds to me like it's not really a change like from us from the outside. It's more just internally how they actually structure it and plan
my
it.
worry is that we'll start getting mini-series that feel like Mark Miller series where you go, oh, this isn't a comic. This isn't a story. This is a pitch for a movie or a pitch for a Netflix show.
I forget who it was on Twitter, but it was like, that's what's great for Vertigo. Bring back Vertigo. Make that your pitch for him. Because, you know, you have all these different things. You could just brand it through Vertigo, and there you have your pitch to develop.
I mean, I think you could argue that a lot of the Black Label stuff, you could say it kind of feels like that, but...
I'm shocked that The Imposter did not take place in the same spot as Matt Reeves' Batman. They're so
You're going to spoil things again, Matt.
Yeah, watch what you're saying, Matt.
I am. But it's just because The Imposter felt so much like that world.
Yeah, especially when Rat King showed up.
Yeah, right? That wasn't me. I just agreed. It's also Rat Catcher, not Rat King, but yeah.
I had to think of my feet quickly and make my Joker, right?
Yeah, I getcha. But yeah, and this whole idea of a Feige-like person, I think they just mean someone that's going to keep the property straight, which I feel like they have needed, because right now the DC movies are just a mess.
They're just all over the place. Like, by the way, for the record, I by all means completely revamp the whole thing. The only thing I say is leave Matt Reeves and his Batman movies alone.
Yeah,
let them go.
Is it a hot take? And like, maybe it's a bizarre choice, but I don't want a shared universe in the same way.
No,
that's fine.
I just keep doing standalone movies. Just knock them out.
They also said with something like the Joker, which people are like, oh, I don't want no more of that. But it was like, well, no, it was Joker was very much what Todd Phillips wanted to make.
Yeah,
right?
I don't necessarily like
disagree.
the movie. I don't want more of that movie, but it was exactly what it set out to be. And I think most importantly, from their point of view, it was cheap and made a shitload of money.
Right. So I can see that where if a creative person in Hollywood has an idea for Superman and they can do it effectively, then that's the Superman movie, right? You know, as much as I would love a Avenger-style Justice League where it felt like it was this big, I think we're past that now. You know,
as someone who is, very publicly burnt out on Marvel films, I don't want that to happen with DC. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm already like not thrilled about all the DC films in general anyway, just superhero movies. But putting them as, they're one big cohesive story, that's not going to get me back on board. That will make me check out even more, if anything. Whereas at least now I can check in on the Batman when I get to that.
Right.
And I'm not feeling Aquaman. I'm not feeling Aquaman. I'll skip that one. But Black Adam, yeah, sure, that seems like up my street. I'll check out that one. I'm personally much more open to I'll be able to cherry pick which ones I actually want to watch, as opposed to feel like
I don't
have to watch
really care about a shared universe anymore.
Yep.
It's especially since I think Marvel, it just feels so factory produced and kind of bland most of the time now. I would rather not have that. I'd rather have a mix of different things where there's just some standout gems and then maybe the rest aren't as great. Admittedly, the current state of the DC movies right now is that I do think a lot of the projects feel just kind of whatever. They just kind of feel there.
They're afloat.
So some of them are like these weird things that are lingering from the past attempt at a universe, which is the Flash and whatever Wonder Woman does next.
Are we ever going to see the Flash? I genuinely don't know.
I mean,
Judging on some recent events, I would say no, but
I don't know.
also,
It's not enough. Like Ezra Miller
put too much money into that.
No,
to
Ezra
give up on
Miller
that for
would
that.
need some Kevin Spacey sized skeletons for them to actually consider reshooting
Yeah, give him a couple of months.
the movie.
yeah, he's on a downward spiral, man. I hope that guy gets help. That's all. But like, I would love like something like, you remember the George Miller Justice League pitch that was making its rounds before all this?
Yeah.
Like, just something like that, I think, is what I want DC to do. Standalone stuff that just kind of how they approach their animation side of things. Or if they have an idea for a story, they make it, you know?
The animation side's actually an interesting comparison because technically there is an ongoing shared universe, but there's also on top of that just, hey, we're going to just do this as well, like, that are completely standalone and outside of that.
Right. So, but yeah.
I really don't know what the changes mean though, in the sense that, okay, you have someone who's like trying to run it or have a more coherent like strategy, but if it's not going to be a shared universe, then I'm not sure why it matters so much outside of just like more editorializing in the sense that you're actually trying to like hire interesting directors and people to actually make interesting films. Because the biggest problem I have right now is that outside of Matt Reeves' Batman, all the movies just look kind of or sound kind of so.
Well, I mean, I feel like you don't want to go the Sony route, what they're doing with their Spider-Man characters.
Well, obviously not, no.
You know, so and just making movies to make movies. Like, I still haven't seen Morbius, but from what I heard,
neither is most of the world, Matt.
Yeah.
Because right now things still feel a bit hodgepodge. Like Black Adam exists because The Rock wants to do it, and because The Rock wants to do Black Adam, it means that Black Adam can't just be the villain in a Shazam movie. So they're having to avoid using Black Adam in Shazam.
What we learn
is
that
awkward.
The Rock has more pull than Channing Tatum.
Sure, but it's just, but it makes it really awkward though, right? It means that the politics of who wants to do what are affecting the creative decisions more than the right creative decisions being made for the movies that are being.
Warner have been famously bad at this for decades, right?
Oh, no doubt, yeah. Like, occasionally they stumble into giving Christopher Nolan control and just like, oh, some good movies get made. Excellent.
Right, but this is the same reason why we couldn't have, they weren't allowed a Harley Quinn on Arrow, for example, because, well, we got plans for Harley Quinn elsewhere. We can't have two versions of Harley Quinn. What if people get confused?
They brought, what's his name that was on Lost on Smallville, and he played a very Bruce Wayne-esque character just to kill him off because of the bat embargo, which they thought they might be able to get lifted from my memory.
There was a whole thing about not using Deathstroke for seasons on Arrow because that was around the time where they teased him at the end of one of the movies. So they were like, well, we can't use Slade anymore. You're not allowed.
Remind me to tell you guys something after, because I don't want to spoil any Batman stuff.
Well, I don't want to hear it either, Matt.
No. Just something that I overheard when I went to see the movie, and I felt so bad for the guy. So remind me when we're done here.
I don't know if I trust him enough to remind him.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what to make of it at this point. I'm so jaded when it comes to comic book movies and TV shows now, because we have reached such a saturation point where none of it feels special anymore. It hasn't in a while. There's just so much of it constantly. That it could take something special to the point where even I love Reeves' Batman, but I only got excited for that in like the 2 days before it came out because the reviews were so goddamn through the roof. Like everything else, like it's just kind of like.
Hey, someone that enjoys the movie thing, like I did contemplate going to see Morbius until I didn't even get, even Tim wasn't like, like if Tim said go see it, it's at least you can laugh at it.
I think Tim's opinion was it's no Venom.
Yes.
Did Tim actually see it?
I believe he did.
Okay.
I don't know. But again, with Tim, I never know, right? But I can trust him if he went, yes, go spend $10 and watch it. It's fine. You'll have fun. You know, I like going to the movie, so I'll still go see some of these. Like I was always going to go see the Batman in the theater, you know, regardless of burnout or not. But I want to be excited and not feel like I have to, you know.
No, to get snooty for a second, The Northman's out, and I am way more excited about seeing The Northman than I am any superhero movie for the rest of the year.
Well.
You know, but I mean, sure, but it's The Rock as a superhero. Like, come on, tailored for me.
I'm more interested in seeing The Northman than I am in getting to the Batman. I'm still more interested in watching the animated superhero, you know, the DC Super Pets than I am watching the Batman.
I mean, I can't agree with that part. That's the madness.
I did expect you to, but I love that trailer. I am more excited about that than I am about watching Batman, which I'll get to it. I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, well, Better Call Saul's back next week, and that's more important than any superhero content that's coming this year, quite frankly.
That's probably true.
I guess I should watch the last season.
Yes.
Goddamn should, yes.
Sitting there on the old DVR. What the hell's been taping then? I thought it was already back.
No, it starts on Monday.
What's been taping under Better Call Saul on my DVR?
Repeats? I don't know.
Maybe they're just the last season again. It's like, you really need to watch this.
Yeah.
You got 5 copies of it now, just eating up tons of DVR space.
Oh, I don't have a lot. We don't DVR a lot anymore, so it's basically for wrestling in case I can't watch it live. And so I had plenty of free space.
All right, let's talk about comics, shall we? Let's get into it. All right, starting off this week, Flashpoint Beyond, issue 0. Geoff Johns writing, Eduardo Risso on the art, and this is a sequel to Flashpoint that no one asked for.
No one asked for. No one wanted. No one should want.
I'm gonna say I'll get out my praise. Risso, I like the art. Right, it has some stuff. This story made me realize how much I did not like Flashpoint. And everything. Sure, there's some central mysteries going on here that I'm gonna keep checking out. Out of sheer curiosity. Talking to the person that has all of Flashpoint. I bought every tie-in, everything for Flashpoint.
You're just a sucker for DC events, no matter what.
Yeah. But like, this is the one that taught me not to do that anymore. And then being reminded of that through this, watching characters make the same mistakes, and this is almost just a retelling of Flashpoint in a single issue. And
now hold on a second.
It makes me wonder.
Hold on a second. There is one plot beat here that I am going to praise. I'm going to praise. So there's an interesting flip of the roles where Thomas Wayne's back in his universe, and he's like, "This isn't right. But this universe got erased, got fixed because of Barry and everything. I met Bruce. I know I shouldn't kill. Harvey Dent wants to arrest me because his wife committed suicide because of what Martha did as the Joker, blah, blah, blah. All that's playing out. Thomas goes to see Barry, but Barry here doesn't remember the original universe. This is just Barry from Flashpoint universe. He doesn't know that he was the Flash.
He's not the Flash. He's just a police scientist.
Thomas kidnaps him, straps him to a chair so he can give him speed powers, but then he gets struck by lightning and dies. He gets Barry killed.
Yeah, not just that, because someone interferes with it too.
I know there's some technicalities, but like, it doesn't matter. The broad stroke of this is that he fries him in an electric chair with lightning because he's trying to turn him into the Flash. And I could sort of see it coming. It was kind of like, this is going to be just like a really darkly funny moment. And I appreciated the humor of that. Maybe it's because I got a sixth sense of humor. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it was meant to be that funny.
No.
It was funny to me.
I don't think it was. I think it was meant to be shocking, and we found it funny.
Yeah, I think it was. But that's the thing, because I also found it quite funny. But I think it was meant to be dramatic.
And so we all love Doomsday Clock.
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
awesome.
This is no Doomsday Clock.
Three Jokers, not so much.
No.
I'm starting to wonder if my former favorite writer still has it.
I'm past wondering. I know the answer.
Yeah, but you would say that, but Doomsday Clock still, right?
I think he's lost it at DC.
Yeah.
I think Doomsday Clock was was an
His grand
exception.
opus.
I don't.
Yeah, because I think he was on a downhill kind of decline before that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would necessarily say that he's lost it per se. It's just that because I think if you gave him a proper ongoing book and if he had time to actually write it, if he wasn't working on a TV show,
Yeah.
I think he would be fine. I think if you gave him a character that he cared about and said go do a run for 50 issues, I think he'd go away and do it, and it would be a solid run. I think the problem
whatever
is
he's doing with Stargirl right now, right? That Spring Break special came out last year, and we're still kind of waiting for
the problem is that he's getting these weird, silly side things, and I think Doomsday Clock, while there was always a question of how much it was going to be adhered to in continuity and what they were going to do with it when it was done, it didn't matter when you were actually reading it because it still felt like the most important thing to us. It still felt like it was these ramifications. It still felt like it thematically tied everything in the DC universe together, even if the main books weren't really going to acknowledge it that much.
Yeah.
As I was reading this, it kind of felt like nothing is really going to acknowledge this, and by the time it's done, it might get a casual mention if Thomas Wayne shows back up during Dark Crisis or something like that. He'll say, "Oh, I went on this little adventure," blah blah blah.
And that tells me because you have Jeremy Adams and who's the other writer going forward? It's Johns, Adams, and is it Thompson?
I think it might be Thompson.
Yeah. So I just feel like if it was gonna have we'd have bigger names, and I feel like Dark Crisis.
That's the other thing. The fact that he's probably just plotted it and then left, and the other writers are scripting it.
The bizarre thing to me is I don't know which way around this came from. Like, did they go, hey Geoff, come do some more Flashpoint for us? Flashpoint's it's bordering on nostalgia. It's back in vogue.
If I was to guess, I would say that there's a plot beat by the end of this that they want to have set up for something in continuity, and they've said, hey, you can do some Flashpoint stuff. All you have to do is make sure you make this point by the end, and then John's just got to go wild. Probably something, because I mean, the implication from the bookend scenes of Batman with Mime Marionette and him being up to something, it kind of sounds like the Flashpoint universe comes back because of something Batman does, and then it's going to be up to Thomas to fix it in the Flashpoint universe to get it back to normal. That's, I mean, conceptually, I don't necessarily think that's a terrible idea. You know, in a vacuum, if you just say that to me, that's like, that's not bad. I don't know why Batman's doing this yet. His motivation is very unclear right now. Doesn't tell us, but
I will say I do love Mime Marionette here when she tells him to put the gun down. I just thought that was well done. But again, this Rizzo's art.
Yeah.
You know.
In fact, it was just reminding me how much I like Doomsday Clock more than it was anything else.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And then the Flashpoint stuff made me realize how much I didn't like Flashpoint.
I liked Flashpoint at the time. I don't know if I like it now.
Yeah, even now. But again, I probably had fatigue because I read every single tie-in. Like Deathstroke as a pirate, Ambush Bug in the UK.
I read a selection of the tie-ins, and a few of them were quite good. And I thought the main book was fine at the time, honestly. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. The problem with Flashpoint was just like at the end when it changed to New 52, it was like, oh, it's responsible for this now.
Which at the time we weren't, we were excited for.
We weren't to know at the time that we were going to hate the next 5 years, by and large.
So I just, this was rough for me. Just because, John's is still one of my guys. I still love his Flash. I still love him a lot.
I think the problem is there's a bit in this where it tries to tell us everything matters on a literal whiteboard. Like, hey, everything matters.
Oh yeah, the Divine Continuum. Notice the initials there.
Yeah.
DC.
But also, following the murders right through the Flashpoint universe, and I'm starting to realize names. Right, and these are names that I recognize being a continuity nerd. And then so when we get that character who I'm not familiar with
at the end, I don't know these characters.
I get to the end, I went, oh, okay, that's okay,
the plot in the Flashpoint universe is that the Clockwork Killer's going around and replacing organs with gears. Kills Abracadabra. They don't know who he is. They just sort of joke about his name.
That is a full amazing horror book on its own.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a fine concept on its own.
It reminded me of John's writing Murmur, right? Back in Flash. He has a tendency to write these type of things. That,
are either of you particularly familiar with this group they're talking about, the time.
Yeah, that's Rip Hunter's.
Time
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, but I mean specifically this character at the end who shows up.
No, that's what I'm looking up. I meant to look this up. So they talked about Matthew Ryder. That was Wave Rider. He was one of the ones he could, go through time, like kind of like a Silver Surfer-esque kind of character. And then there's another, the Doctor character, the PhD guy.
Yeah. So this young character at the end who shows up to Batman is Corky Baxter. Yeah.
What a name.
And references a Dr. Smith. I mean, is Dr. Smith like that character you're familiar with, the Time Masters?
Yeah. So I'm checking them all out right now. He was the one that was the PhD and stuff. I know him. I'm trying to find the right one. But yeah, so the Time Masters are a group of people, kind of. Rip Hunter is, I didn't realize this until becoming familiar with Doctor Who. Rip Hunter's just kind of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And he goes and plucks people through time to help.
Companions.
Yeah, well, not just companions, but they have to write certain things. And after 52 and Infinite Crisis, they started to tie Booster Gold in there. And in fact, Johns made Rip Hunter the son of Booster Gold. And that everything that Rip learned came from Booster. That once Booster got all of his stuff together, he did become a great hero in fixing the time stream, mostly because no one knows about breaking the time stream better than Booster Gold. So this Corky Baxter character, though, I was not familiar with very much. So, and I'm trying to find the Time Masters, and all I keep getting is the Legends of Tomorrow, and I don't want that. I understand that was their version. But yeah, so that's what's going to keep me coming back. So the one other Doctor that dies was Kronos, who was a time-traveling villain that, made trouble for the Time Masters. And then you also had Abracadabra, who's another time traveler, right? Who gets taken out, who's not a Time Master, but yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to keep coming back. Like, again, like Connor said, I have a problem when it comes to events. And this is event adjacent.
It read.
I'm going to keep reading it.
It read well enough. I'm a little concerned that I'm going to come back for issue 1, and because we've got these other writers' script in it, that it's going to be more clunky. And I mean, Adams has been doing fine on Flash. Don't get me wrong, but it's only he's only co-writing with the other dude, so I'm a little concerned about that. I will say, like, it's kind of like, if I was super into the book, this introduction of another corner of the DC universe that I'm not as familiar with would be like, oh, I'm curious about them now and how they're going to fit into this. But instead, when I got to the end and it was like, okay, we're doing this other like pool of these characters from the Time Masters, I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, so I don't really know much about them. And it's a really fine line to walk, where the difference between getting the reaction where I'm like, oh, who are these? I want to know a bit more about them. I need to go do some research. And the opposite reaction being, I don't really know who these are. Well, like, I guess I'm just not excited by this cliffhanger then. So it's kind of weird. I got a couple of chuckles out of the book. They might not have been intentional, but
yeah. So also, just real quick, the Time Masters disappeared at the end of Infinite, or at Crisis on Infinite Earths. So them popping back up now in the Flashpoint universe again plays very much into the Johns, every crisis matters type deal.
You know how you guys feel about like multiverse stories right now, where you're just like sick of them, you just like don't want any more. That's how I feel about this. Like, everything matters. It all has to tie together. There's a metaverse. There's a a divine continuum now. I just don't care. It's too much. It's too much. I'm bored of it. I need a break. And that's a big problem for me. At least I can't get over it.
Are you telling us that you're not reading issue 1?
Oh God, no! No, this I was miserable reading this.
I wouldn't say I was miserable. I was bummed out, but again, I can't help it.
Honestly, if I had more books this week, I wouldn't have read this. I mean, maybe I would have done morbid curiosity because Flashpoint and John's, but I was already just not interested in the subject. You know, I just didn't have any enthusiasm for the book in general. But because I only had a couple of books, I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And yeah, let's say the big dramatic moment of them killing Barry kind of accidentally. Yeah, I'm laughing at it. That's awful. Like, this is not supposed to be funny. This is
supposed to be a big
horrific.
deal because our tie to the multiverse is always a Flash, right? And Flashpoint is a world without a Flash. That's why it's the way that it is.
I mean, I'm not 100% convinced it's not at least meant to be a little darkly funny, because it kind of felt like it was
the look on
that
Thomas's
page
face
is horrified.
Yeah,
Like it's supposed to be horrific. That moment, not funny in the slightest. And the fact that we found it funny is poor storytelling.
I mean, I thought it was easy to read. Like, I don't think it was a short to read. I mean, I'll give it that.
Yeah. I just, again, some of the stuff from Flashpoint that I just, it was making me have memories. Like when they brought up the Atlantean and Amazonian War, I was like, oh God, yeah. I forgot about that.
I'd kind of gratefully forgotten about Martha Joker.
Yeah. Well, no, because that was out of all of the minis, that one and the Project Superman were the two that stood out as kind of the best. But that's what happens when you have Azzarello and then and Risso.
And it's not that they're inherently bad ideas, but it's more just, we have to revisit this. I know, Pete, you're often sick at the minute of just franchises rebooting and just coming back because everything's got to have a name.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of this with Flashpoint. We've got to have everything, and here's all the things that were Flashpointy just to make sure you know, like, hey, here's Martha Joker. Like, here's all the things you liked. And that's just how I felt reading this. It felt corporate.
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I mean, I don't understand why this exists yet. Like I say, I'm assuming there's going to be a plot point by the end that they're going to get to with whatever the outcome of this is that feeds into either Dark Crisis or something related to Dark Crisis, and that's why it exists.
And Mime and Marionette being motivated by their kid, right? There's a thread from Doomsday Clock still.
Yeah. Unless this is purely something just John's wanted to do. But then if it is, it's weird that he left it to some co-writers after the first issue.
I don't understand.
If Eclipso shows up, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'll read the next issue. It was easy enough to read. Yeah. So I'll read the next one. But
I'm not upset I read it. It was just, it wasn't.
I'm here. I'm here for the bollocks at this point. I'm here just to see what nonsense they do.
Now, if this had the co-writers on it, I'd be probably a little bit more easy on it. But because of John's, I had much bigger expectations. And again, expectations are on me. But again, when I go read John's and it's going to be something that plays with continuity and all this other stuff, and then it just kind of makes me remember stuff I didn't like, it makes me sad. And I don't like to feel sad. I'd rather feel nothing than feel sad.
I can help you with that.
Yeah. Sure. Just be dead inside. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Matt, what are you giving Flashpoint Beyond issue 0?
So this is the weird thing, because the art I do feel really is good, even though some of the stuff I don't like what's being drawn because it's just goofy. I'll give it a 6.
Okay. Connor?
It's a 3.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrible.
I mean, I'm agreeing with the 6. I think it's readable. It does feel like kind of a why does this exist? There's definitely things about it that don't really connect with me. But from a kind of like, let's just see what bullshit they do perspective, I had a few chuckles along the way. So, there you go. All right. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue. I have to figure out window here. Where are we? So, I was trying to stall. I was trying to stall till I got the right tab back. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 10. Tom Taylor with Cian Tormey on the art. So, pick it up. Where we left off, pretty much.
Yeah.
I know this is not relevant to this book right now, but Tim Sheridan was the other co-writer on Flashpoint. It's in the advert at the start of this.
Sheridan, that's right. Sheridan,
Aye.
not Robbie Thompson.
Aye, when this is
That's
split
right.
up on YouTube, the fact that we took this
Yeah.
tangent during the start of the book.
Well,
It's
this
going
is
to
a
be
reward for
smooth.
those loyal listeners who get the whole show.
Or we can just take it back to 1 and just reintroduce, and you can get the number right.
I already did that. I made a point of saying it properly in full after Connor already butchered my intro. So
I butchered your intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made it worse. Yeah.
Okay.
So Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 10, Tom Taylor and Cian Tormey on the art. So that's pretty much kicked off where it left, which is people are being
Afraid.
told that John killed someone, because that's what it looked like. Lex is making a speech, he's spreading all this propaganda, and John's still like, well, I don't like that I'm hearing this everywhere I go, but I still have to go and help people. So he has this situation where he saves like a father and daughter, and the father's kind of being protective of his daughter, isn't very nice to John, but then the girl, after Superman saves them, says, no, I believe you, Superman, and he kind of says something nice to her, and it's a really sweet moment that just sort of gives you an example of him still being him.
Yeah, I loved it. He's trying to, because this big old like pillar fell into this, what was it, a train station or something in Ireland, and he's trying to come up with a way to get the people out, but without causing more damage, because he doesn't want the spire to fall on them. And so he's coming up a way, and then the dad is having an issue because he's believing the news, and then he tells the little girl, he's like, hey, put in a good word with your dad, or the girl tells him that, can't quite remember. And I just thought, again, these little human moments, Taylor's really good at with John, because it's just like in that issue with the girl that got lost in the jungle, and John helps her through. He's really good at these human moments.
Yeah, it continues the connection with Dick, who him and Oracle call him, and
I just would say I don't believe this is the real Dick Grayson.
Why?
He's not wearing a funky T-shirt.
I do love this whole vibe of them sitting there with the dog, watching the news and being, and there's this one panel that has Dick and Babs on there, and they just feel like a power couple, but not in that way like, Bruce and Selena do, but it feels real, like they're your cool aunt and uncle, which I feel is the vibe that Taylor wants him to have for John.
Yeah, so Lois is at this conference where Lex is spouting all this stuff and speaks up. Lex starts interacting with her, starts talking about her son, all the rest of it, and she's like, no, there's someone you're helping frame my son, and how about you prove that you believe what you're saying? And pulls out what looks like the lasso, the golden lasso. And obviously this all builds up to something later where it's not really the lasso, she just painted a rope gold, and she points out that she never actually said that's what it was. She just let the implication
she said speak your truth while holding it, so just the illusion of truth and then this yellow rope. Yeah,
it's just the implication,
and the fact that she knew that Luthor would not take the bait on that, right?
Imagine if Luthor had called the bluff, right?
Yeah, but I still think like it would have been enough that but he didn't want to risk it. And so I love that he leaves the podium and then she takes the podium. Like, it's such a great Lois move.
Not for long, because one of his goons comes up to try and grab her. Which obviously John comes swooping in at that point. But yeah, so the other big thing in the issue, of course, is that John comes out to Lois in the next scene. And she's she's just immediately cool with it. There's a big full page spread of her hugging him, and like she kind of already had a guess because she's Lois Lane. I actually really like though that he points out that you literally thought Superman and Clark Kent were different people for years. And she's like, shut up, you little bitch.
I've won Pulitzer since then.
You shut up! Don't you point out the one stupid thing I did.
The Pulitzer Simpson's up there with she's bad at spelling, despite being the world's greatest journalist.
Honestly though, my favorite joke of the issue might be when Batman shows up and John's like, wait, I didn't see or hear you come in, how did you do that? I'm Batman. That's not an adequate answer. How did you do that?
It's funnier because Lois says he's Batman.
True, yeah.
That is no way a satisfactory answer to my question.
Yeah. I do. I mean, obviously it's a little bit gimmicky. It's a little bit because Batman, but I do love the running gag that beings that have superior strength, speed, senses, smell, sound. Somehow he still sticks up on them.
Because Batman.
Because Batman.
Well, and Lois
because it's played as a joke as well. It's not like saving the day, and it's not a big solution to everything. It's all because Batman.
Yeah, no, but and again, it's Lois selling it too. She's like, it's just something you get used to. It's kind of like Gordon. Yeah. I love the fact that like when you see Gordon not being used to it, like when he goes to talk to him and he's gone, but Lois is just used to it.
This is basically just an evolution of Long Halloween where Gordon says to Dent he does that, right? It's basically the evolution of that.
Yeah. But yeah, and then they have to go because now they've pissed off Luthor and Bendix, and Lois. They know where Lois and him live, so they're huge targets. So we got to get you to the safe house.
Yeah, and notably when John says, "Can Jay come with?" Batman says no, and you think he's just been a hard ass because it's just a safe house for you too. But then when he gets on the jet, the final cliffhanger of the issue is like, I know who that boy is, that Jay. You can't trust him. So it's like, so Batman knows who he is, and for some reason does not think he should be associating with him.
I'm not thrilled by this element, if I'm honest.
So I think that knowing I've read enough Taylor, right? I know is that Bruce isn't old, right? And he doesn't trust that Jay is 100% about the truth.
I suspect that he has done something that would make Batman not like him, but ultimately this is going to be a story of that he's still ultimately good by the end.
Yeah, and that he might be compromised because of who his mom is with Gamora and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think there's sinister vibes.
Thrilled about I'm not concerned about the resolution because I don't think it's going to be that out there or weird. It's more just I don't want a whole issue of Batman being like, you can't trust him, and then John being all weird and starting to doubt Jay, and that part of the plot is just a bit tedious to me, and I kind of feel like I wish we hadn't gone down that route.
I mean, it's up there with the Jay's mom being
didn't enjoy that either.
It was part of that.
I mean, I didn't like the mum thing. Like, I was on record of not liking that. I will say with this, I actually do kind of like it because I felt Jay's been a little too good to be true this whole time. It feels a little bit too perfect. So I actually kind of appreciate that there is some sort of skeleton because I just feel there needs to be. Because right now he feels a little too just, he's the perfect new friend who's got romantic feelings for.
Which is fine. But then I kind of, at that point, if you are going down that route, I would almost prefer it if it doesn't work out then, because whatever it was actually quite bad, and John doesn't trust him for that. But within 2 or 3 issues, it'll all be forgiven, and everything will be back to normal, and that's.
I mean, we'll see what it is. You're making a lot of assumptions as to how this is going to go.
Yeah,
I am.
Again, Taylor has enough trust in me at this point that I feel like he's going to stick whatever landing, even though I didn't like the mom reveal. It's still fine.
Yeah, the mom reveal wasn't good. I still don't like that, but. This, to me, worked at the end, partly because of what it just followed. The fact that it became right after Lois kind of approving of the whole thing and wanting to make sure Jay didn't feel uncomfortable with being out of the room. I think narratively, in the way it was presented, worked really well as a plot beat in this issue. And I'm not, I trust Taylor enough at this point that I'm not going to assume that he's going to mess this up by it not working. So.
I'm in the same boat. Like, you don't this is John's first big relationship that we've seen, and I feel like you don't overly complicate it by, Batman doesn't trust him, and I feel like John's at the point where he's like, I don't care what Batman thinks. Batman can be wrong.
I think he might care, but he's going to not believe him and try and convince him of otherwise. Yeah. And maybe part of the story is proving to Batman that he's wrong, and that comes with it its own. Because even in this issue. Like, they almost sets up this idea that John will question things with Batman by even questioning, how did I not sense you coming in here? I don't like that.
Right.
That's fishy.
Right.
So, yeah.
But yeah.
Just to give some positivity into this.
Yeah, no, I really like that.
I like most of the issue. I just don't really enjoy this last bit. And part of it is my assumptions of what is coming next, because what usually comes next, like I say, it'll be He'll tell Batman that he's wrong, that of course he can trust him, but he'll go and see Jay and there'll be just 1 or 2 little things that niggle, and he's like, maybe there is something, and we'll have to go through, and it'll go through an issue, and then it'll all come out, and then it'll be like, oh, actually, it's fine. I forgive you.
I feel like Jay is using John as a means to an end, but I also feel like the feelings are true. He just knows it.
Yeah, it started that way, but it's not what it is now. It'll be something like that, and
that's comic book tropey relationshipy stuff. Like
it is, and that's why I'm not thrilled about it.
That's fine.
It feels a bit generic.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me because of the bigger story he's telling with John being this symbol, right? Like his father was, and that he's more worried about that. And they're trying to break that trust by making him look like, oh, he sided with the monster, and and he killed a guy, and they're trying to break that. I'm much more invested in that side than John's personal, which that can get tropey, whatever. But that's just a smaller piece of this overall story.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of assumptions being made right now, and I don't know if I'd throw any of it under the bus until we actually see how the story plays out, because we don't really know which tactic he's going to take. But yeah, so yeah, the obviously the book looked good. Obviously it wasn't Redondo like the last issue, so it was a slight step down in that case, but
Tormey's pretty good, and it fits that the other artist that's been on the book.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, I particularly enjoyed a lot of the facial expressions, I think, from Lois, especially when she was tackling with Lex, and then the stuff with the scenes with John and him coming out to her. I think there's good expressions in those scenes that really worked with the kind of the intent of the moments. There was a lot of personality coming off the characters, especially Lois, I think, in this issue.
Yep. As a longtime Lois fan, it's great that she had some spotlight and someone like Taylor writing her, just because the liveliness is there. And sometimes I feel like people can totally miss Lois's voice by trying to write her too smart or too snappy, and Taylor balances it enough. So, like, just the reveal, like, it wasn't, like, we all kind of knew it wasn't the actual Golden Lasso, but just the fact that she pulls it out and it's something that we could believe, I just feel like it's such a great moment.
All right. What are you giving the issue, Matt?
This is an 8.
Cool. Connor?
I'll give it a 7.
I will give it an 8 myself. It was pretty good.
Stop.
Good. What?
You're giving my rating system like
validation.
Yeah, validation.
Is it possible Matt's learned to rate things properly over time without realizing it?
No, because he gave this an 8.
Self-aware.
No, that was the correct score, Connor. You're the one who's wrong, dog.
Nothing has sounded more awkward coming out of his mouth than him calling Connor dog.
It sounds so stupid.
Well, I was going for the Sean Connery, you're the man now, dog thing.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That was in my head. Can't remember what movies that's from, but it's a famous quote. But yeah. Alright. Batgirls, issue 5, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad writing with Jorge Corona on the art. We're actually already over 2 hours in this show, so I'm going to speed through this a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
So Joe, it's funny. Like, the first scene of this issue, I was like, this feels like a bit of a chore. This is overly wordy. The annoying narration that's just too much is back. It's a car chase where the Saints, the assassins in the mech suits are coming after the Batgirls. What is fun though is Babs kind of joins in the fight. Like, she sort of comes in halfway through the scene on her bike, and like Steph and Cass are in the car that they've had for the last few issues. So it does turn into a fun action sequence. But it was kind of in that messy vibe where I was like, and it felt like they'd kind of dealt with the Saints by the end of the scene, and I'm like, these have been kind of dipping in and out of this book since issue 1. It's kind of weird that they've always kind of felt like a secondary threat, and it's never really escalated beyond that. So I'm still feeling a little bit strange about that. But what I will say is that I did really enjoy where it went after that in the book, which is, aside from the fact that Babs steals the robot dog and reprograms it so she now has a robot dog in the book. But they're following coordinates because they're trying to figure out where the villain is they're after. the graffiti artist, and then you've also got Dante, who they're going to discover they're connected. And we knew there was a connection in the last issue of some kind. If it turns out that Dante's actually his old therapist from Arkham Asylum, which is where Steph and Cass end up. They're following coordinates to trace where he is, where the signal's coming from that's being broadcast, and they end up at the abandoned Arkham. And they reference the tower. They're like, wait, why would anyone be here? I thought everyone got moved, and they have. It's it's now this creepy old abandoned building, which is an interesting version of Arkham, in the sense that it's a very classic story trope, is having the big old abandoned mental hospital, but it's one thing for that to now be Arkham because it has been abandoned. So it's kind of like, we know the history of this place because it's been such a feature in Batman for decades and decades and decades. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, they discover this connection that the villains are connected. Babs is actually going to see this Dante guy, not knowing that he is the main villain, but he's got his mask on with the name that he sort of gave himself. Like it was Spellbinder that he said his name was in the last issue, and does attack her by the end of the issue. And we get there's a very horror movie set up by the end here, where Steph and Cass are at the abandoned Arkham Asylum, and the mind control stuff is like got the reporter and like an army of people, so they're basically zombies. And then the only part of the narration that I actually quite liked in this issue is that Cass jumps down. It's a great sort of like really big panel of her jumping with her wings spread out down to this horde of what is essentially zombies. Not zombies she can kill because they're just mind controlled. They can be brought back, but the narration talks about how Cass, like anyone else would compare this to a zombie movie, but Cass can't because she's never seen one. But it points out in exactly 3 weeks, Cass will watch Night of the Living Dead for the first time, and she's going to love it. And then you turn to the next scene, and Babs is there, and I thought it was really weird they didn't make a joke about Barbara, because that's the famous line from Night of the Living Dead is, "We're coming to get you, Barbara." I wonder if they'll maybe pay that off next issue with someone saying that. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, Spellbinder's got Barbara at the end of the issue while Steph and Cass are dealing with this mind control zombie horde at the abandoned Arkham. Yeah, I really liked the back half of the issue. I think once it got into it and it was the investigation, it was going through the creepy Arkham Asylum, it was all that stuff. I got more into it because it slowed down, it simplified, and it kind of just focused on one specific thing, which is kind of the problem this book's had, is it had a couple of too many side plots just running alongside everything else. So once it got that first scene out of the way, I was way more into it. I will say Cass does feel like her voice, she's a little bit too talky at times. I think when Bab shows up on her motorbike, she says, "Hey boss, nice bike," which felt like a very un-Cass-like sentence to me.
You would just say nice bike.
Yeah. I think Cass saying "Hey boss" is actually the problem I have with it. It just feels weird for her to say "Hey boss," but at the same time, it does acknowledge her past with her lack, or her less talkative self, because she tells someone else they talk too much. In fact, there's actually the page where she's jumping down and her wings are spread out, which is a really fun line coming from Cass, because obviously she's known for being silent. So yeah, I was into the issue quite a bit once it got into the main stuff past that first part, and I do still think it's kind of weird that the Saints, which the narration promises it's not the end of them, but they basically defeat the Saints and prove that Simon Saint's actually dead, and it's actually the seer who's been tricking you into thinking that Simon Saint's giving you orders. And as a result, I was like, oh, that's weird, because these were set up by the end of first issue. We've seen them a few times throughout the book's run so far, and now they're taken care of in the opening scene. And part of me was relieved, because like, okay, that's over now, but part of me also felt like, well, it's kind of weird they didn't get focused on for a whole issue until they got defeated, so that was a bit weird. But also the narration's promising that they're going to be back in some form, so I don't know what to make of it. Maybe this will click together a little bit better as it goes. But yeah. So I will say I was a little worried about reading this issue, because these issues have been a bit wordy, the narration's been a bit overbearing. But there are definitely sequences in here that do go a bit more quiet, which I appreciated. And like I say, 2/3 of the book quite enjoyed. First third was a bit haphazard and a bit too much going on. But that's been kind of the story of this book since it started, pretty much. it's just a case of like, can we enjoy where the plot's going? And for the most part, I am, but yeah, you probably could have saved the Saint stuff and the serial killer stuff till later, and try to tighten up and just streamline what this first arc has been up until this point. Art's still very good. There is the one or two odd faces, but the stylized, angular designs and the line work do give it a very distinctive sort of punk, sort of pulpy vibe, which has been consistent throughout the whole book because it's been Corona in all the issues. Actually, barring maybe one, but it's been mostly Corona. So, yeah, I'm happy to give this a solid 7, I think, in the end, which I didn't think I was. And when I was reading the start of it, I thought the first few pages, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm into this. And then it kind of won me over by the end, which was nice. So it's always good when that happens. So yeah, go ask Batgirls. All right, Batman Urban Legends, issue 14. Matt read this.
Yep. So speed round. Here we go. So the first story is the Batman Zatanna Constantine, and basically these beings are they're creatures throughout time, and they come right as a civilization's getting ready to fall. So like they corrupted Nero and helped led to the fall of Rome, and that by Zatanna and Bruce doing their little ritual, they trying to get back through this issue. They were freed again, and they're looking for these forms that can be, that'll give them the most freedom. And so Bruce realizes that you can't fight them. So he basically, from the time that, where's it at? One of them says that, I'll for that again, that they're just delaying the inevitable. They don't even know where the lock is to insert the key. So basically, Bruce sacrifices himself and gets sent to a realm like Constantine did, which is like this, they call it the in-between. He ends up there. He's in the shade of Seneca Village, where he meets Constantine and the dog that got consumed earlier, and that the key is somewhere there. So now him and Constantine have to find this while Zatanna keeps the two beings at bay as she's fading in and out of reality, which is cool because the art, makes her transparent and see-through. We also get that these two, the last time these two beings were around was in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in 1967, which does make them the Mothman creatures. And we see the Dr. Fate of that time basically destroying the bridge, which is this famous bridge collapse that happened back then. So I thought that was pretty cool. But that was at that same time we see when they got banished by fate, we see Bruce and Zatanna running through that forest from the first issue, and the beings infected, or at least one of the beings infected this grandma that was taking her daughter about. So it shows how it's tied to what they had done. But yeah, so Zatanna has to, keep them occupied while Bruce and Constantine figure out where to put this. And it ends with Bruce being able to see the world through the most recent host. And yeah, this one was called Bandor Will. The art by Nicola, Chemeshia is really the highlight.
I was going to be a dick and say Scott, Matt. It's pronounced Scott.
No, it's not Nicola Scott, because I would have been going leaps and bounds over. But it's a very interesting story, which is, seeing the whole Mothman and how magic works. I'm reading Department of Truth right now too, and I just got to how the one guy in the Department of Truth explains how magic works. So I just think it's funny. Yeah, I think it's funny how reading that with this around the same time, and they're using essentially the same you know, the whole idea of symbols, and symbols equal magic, and if you can read the symbols, you're a magician. How all of this works with that, it's real fun. But yeah, the second story is a question story called Right Answer, Wrong Question. And it's the question operating in Gotham. He's investigating Bruce Wayne because there's stuff going on at Wayne Enterprises that's not lining up. And that Bruce Wayne has to be in on it because he oversees everything, which, you know, Batman he goes onto this case with Vic to find out everything, and that in it, as they're investigating it, the question, you know, tells him that, you know, or Bruce tells the question that he's going off the wrong way. He's like, how do you know? And he reveals himself to be Bruce, which he tells him it all checks out because if you're paying attention, you know, you would notice that Bruce Wayne is tied intricately to Bruce Wayne, or Bruce Wayne's tied to Batman. And that, you know, he's been asking the wrong question. So it ends with, you know, him writing in the notebook that he had suspicions that Batman's Bruce Wayne, but also that he can be trusted and that Batman is exactly who you think that he is. And there's through lines of like what makes a conspiracy and what, you got to know the questions to find out the mystery and whatnot. And it was okay. It just only feels like it might have been better somewhere else instead of Urban Legends, just because it kind of felt like a filler, I guess. But it's always cool to see the question, right? The third story is called Memory Lane, and it's the new Birds of Prey. I didn't like this that much. This involves Shiva and Katana and getting someone named Ghost. And this all feels familiar, but I can't quite put a finger on it. But basically Shiva is trying to, there's this app that lets you relive your memories in like kind of what I would assume is like danger room technology. It make sure your memories come to life, and that Shiva, I'm trying to find the thread on this, that Shiva wants to figure out how they got this technology to work because it shouldn't exist, and because it involves a person that where's he at? It involves a guy that can pull your dreams and your memories out and make them come to life, and that that person shouldn't exist anymore. They got put into Arkham so long ago. It's weird Shiva trying to take the lead here, and a lot of it is Shiva and Katana butting heads. They recruit Miracle Molly because with her stuff with the Insanity Collective, with the key through the technology, they can end up doing this. But as they get close to this house that's in Gotham City Park, it looks like this old shack, but judging off of the maps of the area, it's a lot bigger. So something's not afoot, but Shiva gets attacked by what looks like the memory of Cassandra, but only she can see her. So it's this Batgirl Shiva kind of fight scene where Batgirl, puts her down, which then angers Shiva. So they go into this house where this character that can bring your memories back to life is sitting, and that's where it ends. I don't know why they call this Birds of Prey. Do you guys remember the Shiva and Birds of Prey thread coming?
I remember them announcing it. I don't know if I remember.
Yeah, I remember this being in the solicits. I don't remember anything past that.
Gotcha. But yeah, just Shiva and Katana, I like that dynamic, but I wouldn't call this a Birds of Prey, right? Because I feel like to be birds, you need at least Huntress or Canary or Babs.
If I remember rightly, Katana was in the New 52 Birds of Prey, just for a strenuous connection.
Yeah, but and they're investigating stuff.
At that point, it's closer to an outsiders team, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
Shiva was a pretty typical Birds of Prey villain, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the one tie, and I get having like an all-lady team, but that doesn't necessarily make it Birds of Prey. You know, like this is just a all-ladies outsiders team more than birds. But yeah, just overall the story was fine. It's like we've seen this kind of stuff before, the stuff with the memories and it being weaponized, and you know. But then we get to the main event, which is the one story that I keep reading Urban Legends for, and this is the Mark Russell, Carl Mostert Ace story, and it starts off with two of the guys that work for the Russians. They're in a warehouse district and talking about how Gotham started as a port town, and that the whole reason that the criminal element might exist in Gotham now is because of these warehouses. Just because of at these port towns you need somewhere to keep all the stuff, and when people know where you keep the stuff, that allows all the crime to come up, and it's just basically Gotham was always meant to be this. And so it goes in with that theme that, like, Ace was brought up to be this mean attack dog, and that's all he's meant to be. So of course these guys believe that was all Gotham was meant to be, that Batman and the Bat family are having this losing fight. But they bring Batman in to the auction, and you see in this auction house, in this warehouse, there's a cage fight going on between two people, and just like basically most villains in Gotham you could think of are here. You got Riddler and Two-Face, and I can see Atomic Skull, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Kite Man, who talks about him not being able to have his kite. He feels naked without it. Calendar Man, Croc, Penguin, Bane commenting on the fight that's going on, where it looks like one guy has a knife and another has a pipe. And he's like, "Oh, lead pipes reminds me of Pinadora," and back in the club, they're not the super pets, but they're super pet adjacent. I guess this would be Ace's outsiders. They're looking for Batman, and they find Ace's his harness that he wears. It has like all the utility stuff on it, and they find the bear's collar, which reminds her of one of her last jobs, where the villain made her attack someone that owed him money. But there's also this he talks about why bears are the symbol of Russia and whatnot, and that he talks about that bears were the symbol of this Greece, of this small town in Siberia, but at the end of the day it was just pig fat, and that by putting a bear on it, it made them feel bigger than they were, and that they were able to turn that into their strength, which again is this whole thing of who you really are, and if you can change or not. The Ace's outsiders steal some pizza from these two henchmen. That's real funny. And then the main bad guy shows up, Mr. Tarkov. They have Batman in between two electromagnets to make sure that there's no more funny business. Because, when they try to, pull off his mask, he had the gas and the electricity hit. And that, now that he doesn't want Batman to struggle anymore, because whoever he sells him to, I'm sure is going to want that more. They go to do the auction, and all the villains are there. Riddler wants to know, he has a riddle for the auctioneer, what kind of auction house doesn't serve sandwiches? So again, it's some more of that Mark Russell livening the mood. In that the Mr. Tarkov brings up how life is like a casino, and because everything's a gamble in life, and that the only thing that's true is there can only be one winner. And that he brings up how the two guys that are fighting because he takes money off of their debt. But one of the guys asks him, well, how much does the other guy owe? Has anyone ever gotten out of debt by this fight? He goes, oh yeah, the guy with the pipe, he's been in here 3 times, you know, but he gets addicted to winning. As this is going on, the Aces Outsider group realize that Bruce isn't there, and so they get attacked by some of the henchmen. They're gonna train Ace in the turtle that they were trying to get into the Speed Force. He takes a bullet off of his shell, not a bullet, but like a drink for Ace, which then gets him to tap into the Speed Force. And so you have this turtle that starts coming up on the henchmen, and he takes them out. Ace gets attacked by Lex Luthor, Lex's dog that went back. But then the bear intervenes, and she ends up sacrificing herself so the rest of the Ace's team can get out. So she gets trained and gets taken back in the van. And then they get to Bruce, and they're talking about how that this old story from Russia that the king was super sick, but the only thing that save him was the Happy Man's shirt. So they scoured the entire kingdom, and when the knight heard laughing from this hut, they found the one guy that was happy, but he didn't own a shirt because he was so poor. So all was lost, all bedridden old kings wishing only to be cured, but there is no cure. And so it's this kind of very Russian story of that's very desolate. So the squirrel, Ace, the turtle, and the chicken, the robo chicken. Ace is sending out a howl as the bear is taken away, but the squirrel stole from the henchmen their wallet, and so they find that where they're going is the Gotham Toxic storage. So this was part 4 of 6, and the next tease is the puppy and the Joker. So I'm sure we're gonna get Ace's entire origin, and I'm sure it's gonna break me. But I hope this story gets put out in a trade just by itself, because I feel this is something that everyone should be reading right now. It's really one of my favorite Mark Russell things he's ever done. And it's basically a story of perseverance and trust, in that Bruce put trust in this dog that no one else would have. And now it's going to be, him teaching these other animals that shouldn't trust humans, that they're not all bad, and that they have each other. It's really heartwarming, despite having these really dark and, desolate moments. But yeah, so that story is like an 8.5 out of 10, but the rest I can't. So I guess as a whole, I'd give the book a 6.5. But really, that last story is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
All right, cool. Batman, Catwoman, issue 11, Tom King and Clay Mann. So, penultimate issue of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's been on kind of a weird ground. It's been kind of hard to remember some of the plot beats from issue to issue, because there's been more delays. Because the last I checked, the last issue was 2 months ago, right? So we skipped the month. And having the 3 timelines and having kind of the disjointed storytelling order is making it really kind of tough to keep track of. I would also say that the last issue felt kind of a bit weird in how it kind of made me feel about the Selena. It kind of made her a little bit unlikable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This issue doesn't have that problem per se. This issue is a little bit more straightforward once it gets going, but I did have a hard time at first trying to okay, where are we in each of these timelines? And it's weird having scenes with Phantasm again, Andrea again, when we haven't seen her in 4 issues, and it's now it's revealing kind of part of her story that they've kind of glossed over to this point, which is that she commits suicide because of what she ultimately did to this family whose child she kind of unknowingly took. She thought she was just taking an orphan, but it was a kid that the Joker stole from a family.
Not just any orphan. She's led to believe that it's Joker's kid.
Yeah, she thinks she's
and that the reason she takes the kid is because she's well, the Joker can't raise this kid. I'll give it a better chance. And then, she realizes what she's done. And it was just trying to keep track of all of these timelines and where we're at. It's a little bit easier. It's just the modern, because the past stuff is, not too tough. In the future, we have, Helena and her mom, and her whole argument with Dick in this one, I really did enjoy. But yeah, the stuff with the Phantasm and the Joker, and it just, I don't know, it didn't land for me. Because like Pete said, we've been like 4 issues without the Phantasm. So like her just popping back up, I don't know. It's very unbalanced.
Yeah, with very little kind of fanfare, or like as if she has been missing. I don't know. It felt a bit weird to me. At least this time, I didn't have the problem where the midpoint story and the earliest story were confusing and swapping. Like at least that wasn't a problem this time because the mid story was all Phantasm. But like the stuff, because and the stuff in the past was fine. It was Catwoman finally giving in, saying to Batman, "I got you a Christmas present. I'm going to take you to see Joker," which followed on from an introduction with Riddler, where she was going to not like tell him where Riddler was hiding, but then Riddler wouldn't stop, talking about how good his riddle was. It's like, do you not get it? Do you not get the riddle I told you?
He's sitting in the dumpster. So what I'm really realizing is Tom King really likes writing Riddler and Catwoman playing off of each other, because between this and Killing Time, I feel like he just has a whole lot of fun with those two personalities. And this one, it really did make me laugh. Him sitting,
no, it was funny,
not being able to hold himself. Like, no, he has to tell her why this is so good.
Yeah, why the riddle's that great. Yes.
Yeah. So
and there's some great art here. Obviously, Selina like sitting on the dumpster is quite seductive or sultry as she usually is. The full page of Batman like standing there with the Batmobile behind him is pretty gorgeous. Like it is constantly a very, very pretty book.
Even the stuff with Phantasm has this weight to it, right? There's a lot of shadows.
Yeah.
When you see her in full, and it works.
Kind of missing because there was 1 or 2 issues that it wasn't Mann, and then there was one that it felt kind of rushed. This kind of feels like it's back to just full on. Like this is the top tier quality of Mann the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, the full page where Andrea's like taking off her mask and she's holding the baby. Like that's a great page. Like like it's just
and the coloring too, because the Phantasm's all gray, but her hair really sticks out against it.
Yeah. That ginger flourish, if you will.
Yeah.
So and you've got old woman Selina and Helena bonding. Helena, saying she doesn't know where Selina is to Dick, and like sort of telling him to get the hell out of the Batcave, and then having a heart to heart with Selina, which is like a kind of a contrast to what the last issue was. But
the first time Bruce ever dressed up for Halloween, which I have a hard time believing, but was for Helena, and he's dressed as Superman.
Well, the first time he dressed up for Halloween as an adult, as a father, I assume.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But like, I have the hard time not like. I mean, I guess maybe, but even for the Robins, you don't think he ever, I don't know.
I'm sure there's probably some sort of annual somewhere where they did that as a fun issue, but I
the whole idea of him changing because of his daughter, like.
I can buy the idea that Bruce Wayne, once he became an adult, that he never cared about dressing up for Halloween until he had a daughter who was old enough who would appreciate him dressing up for Halloween. And it's a nice reference to the fairground issue of Superman, because that's what it references. It references that he dressed up as Superman because he actually like remembered doing it for that.
Right. Yeah. And so I do like that little moment that, and that's one of her cherished memories with her dad. But yeah, because all that stuff really worked for me. The Helena and Selina stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird point in the book now. I really think the shipping schedules hurt it. I do think that the very dense and like constantly like moving of 3 timelines has made it difficult to kind of keep track of. Even on a monthly schedule, I think it would be a little difficult. Never mind all of the extra delays. So it's probably going to read better in trade, which is interesting. I do think some of the complaints from last issue were very much different. Were very objective and less to do with how it was presented. That was about characterization. This issue doesn't have that problem, so this kind of feels like back to the form of the previous few issues, but still maybe a little bit burdened with the format of which the story's taking place. So Great art though, and there is some moments that kind of work. So yeah, I don't know what I'm ultimately saying here, except that it's kind of all right, but still definitely much less than all of Tom King's other current books.
Yeah, I'm ready for the last issue to come out, so we can be done with it.
Well, luckily for you, that's next.
Yes, I know, and I still do like the whole Christmas theme because they keep working the song in. That's the title, and still, just the original premise where it felt like a Christmas Carol through Batman. With the 3 different timelines and whatnot.
It's so funny that it was meant to go for a year, so presumably it was going to start and end around Christmas season. But it's went a year and a half because of all the delays. So we're going to be having the last issue in like early summer, which is just really weird.
Christmas in July,
Yeah, so it's kind of weird and unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, what are you giving Batman Catwoman, Matt?
7.5.
7.5. Okay. Yeah, I think that's. I'll probably just go with a straight 7. I think, but yeah, that sounds about fair. But there you go. So cool. So then we go Naomi, season 2, issue 2. This is
Bendis. Walker.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes, the creative team is Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker with Jamal Campbell on the art. This is pretty solid issue, honestly. Like I think it's. I keep coming into these Naomi issues kind of dreading because Bendis has been such a shit streak.
It's okay. We have a crutch, and that crutch to hold it up. Not a crutch. We have something that stabilizes, and I feel that's Walker.
Possibly,
I feel like he really focuses it. However, all the stuff that Naomi's been through since she's been introduced as a character is only meant to happen in 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's a hell of a 2 weeks.
Well, you know what's funny about it though is if you haven't read Justice League and you haven't read all the other stuff that was supposed to happen, it does work because there's a flashback scene at the start of this issue, which is meant to be like when she first went to go see the Justice League after getting her powers, and like characters, Black Canary's introducing herself to her, and Atom's doing some tests. Batman's been all, "Oh, you've got powers now, congratulations!" Right?
Yeah.
I think what's neat about this scene is that this just for me says I didn't need to read Justice League. Everything I needed about her interactions with the Justice League happened in this like 3 pages.
Right here. Yep.
And what's so fun about it is that it sets up the theme of the issue, which is the idea that people she knows and cares about will treat her differently now because she has powers. Even if they don't mean to, and for some people it'll make the connection stronger because they're going to bond over it and they're going to be there for her even in like this new change. But for some people, it's going to make the relationships tougher. And then, of course, the ongoing thing over this issue is her relationship with her father deteriorating because she's so different now? And can they still connect? And obviously, by the end, it's hopeful because he admits that he's not handling it well. And it seems like, okay, they're going to work this through. They're going to like get to a better place. But
I love when because they go and they investigate. She ends up running into him at Dee's garage. And they bump and he does the whole dad that he's pissed off, and then they have to get out of there because the police show up, and she flies him out. And just the irrational anger he has with her picking him up, like not quite that it's emasculation, but him as a dad realizing, that his kid has powers, despite him being from Rand and whatnot. I really love that whole section, just because it felt so real. Just the whole parent-kid dynamic and him realizing that his, like she's 17. It makes it very clear in the beginning that that's not his little kid anymore and that she can do stuff, to help him. I really loved all that subtext.
Oh, yeah, because obviously we had the cliffhanger last issue, so when we come back to present day, that they're both snooping around in the mechanic's place and Dee's place. And obviously there's a big plot point here, but just like when they have to run away because the police show up and she flies him out, he gets like, in the same way that Batman gets kind of pissed when Superman picks him up, this was very much like, don't you ever pick me up again, never do that, like never manhandle me.
And she's like, but Dad, no, never.
Yeah, so clearly he's dealing with some issues, but he does react very strongly to this like pin. She picks up this pin that belonged to Dee, this Thanagarian badge of some kind, and he reacts to it and he's like, you know what, you're not ready to hear what that is, and we're not talking about it. And it's when she's talking to her friend where she's like, wait a minute, I know Hawk Girl. I can go speak to Hawk Girl.
I know a Thanagarian.
Yeah.
I know a Thanagarian. And so I love that too. Just the smash cut of her. It smash cuts to her, Hawkwoman in her face. Be like, where did you get that? And then
Yeah.
Hawkwoman calming down and be like, hey, let me just tell you, that's a very bad symbol.
Yeah, she basically compares it to the Gestapo, and she's like, "Oh, wait, oh, that's that bad." And then when she brings it up to her dad when she sees him, and they have the heart to heart, she sort of like summarizes what Hawkwoman told her, which is, "Oh yeah, something about how the Black Guard on Thanagar, and this was like during the war, and they were doing all the really bad stuff, and that's why obviously he, as a Ranian,
right, as Iranian,
that's the word."
And then it also shows too of about how important they bonded over this girl when she came, right? Because those two were in mid-war, right? The Ranthanagar Holy War. They bring that up, but they stopped fighting to make sure this little girl has a home. So yeah, it just shows Dee's character there too. I do like. So and then her talking to her friend. I just want to go back to that whole scene. That entire 2-page spread is so beautiful.
Oh,
the way that Campbell does the colors. I specifically looked, and he's only listed as the artist, so he's doing the colors and the pencils and the inks and everything.
Oh yeah,
just the way that the sunset hits with the yellows, the pinks, oranges, but like this story tells, it's not just the words, but the tone and all the colors match. Because I went back and looked through it again, not reading anything, and you can tell the tone of the scene just by the colors being used.
Oh, for sure. Like I really like that. I love the fact that Hawkwoman takes her helmet off, and she's like, "Wait, I never saw you with your helmet off. But your name's Kendra. You have a name? It's Kendra." But I love after that scene when she goes back and sees her dad, and he's sitting in the garage, and he's painting these little models, and it's it's the color tone is very muted purples. It's like it's much calmer, it's much more serene and peaceful, and it's like, okay, like I'm not handling this very well. Like, please bear with me. Like, I'm trying, and they have this nice moment. But yeah, so at the end of the issue, Naomi can't sleep, so she flies out. Basically says, okay, how does Superman find Superman things to do? And just looks at Twitter or something. And it's like, okay, there's people to go save here. And we even get to see her fighting a couple of random villain. I think Cyborg Superman's in there. Yeah. Grundy's here fighting for a moment. And she ends up at Star Labs, and she tries to ask what happened here. And it looks like someone, possibly Thanagarian, possibly Dee, although that may be a red herring, it may not be him, but someone looking very Thanagarian attacked them and demanded that Star Labs use their portal to send them somewhere. And the police aren't happy that Naomi's asking questions, but she flies up to the window, gets the portal turned on, and the cliffhanger is that Cyborg sticks his head out of the portal and says, "No, close the portal now." So that should be a cliffhanger.
Yep.
So yeah, I love the relationship stuff with the dad. Like I wasn't necessarily feeling the initial okay, why are they both here? I didn't really care that much. But once it became about okay, what this pen is, what it means, why he's reacting strongly to it, and then the idea that Kendra, being a Thanagarian, reacts strongly to this. This is not just because he's from Rann and he's seen it as the enemy. Even Kendra's no, that's a dark part of my planet's history. I don't want, this is serious. We don't want to do that again. So I like that. It really sold the severity of it, and it made you think, oh geez, Dee might be into some really bad shit or has a really dark past. So I like that build, and just the general theme of, and I think it's important that after that first scene with Naomi hearing, oh, your relationships are going to change, that obviously sets up this backdrop for everything with her father and all those conversations. But it also sets up that scene where she's with her friend at the sunset, and they're talking about what she should do, and her friend's cracking jokes about, because Naomi says, oh yeah, I just got back from another planet, or it's like, those are normal things to say. Just get back from another planet, and so,
and her friend's super cool about it though too. She's just like, oh yeah, my best friend's a superhero now.
But that's what I think so smart about the issue, is that sometimes you get these little flashbacks and they feel kind of superfluous. This didn't, because it set up the theme of the issue, which is how people are going to react to her. People in her life will react now that she's different, and then the rest of the issue gave you multiple examples of people around her treating her. So.
I also feel like that director was the same director from the Young Justice issues where Naomi was there when they went back to Gem World and whatnot. So I thought that was another smart thing, because it felt like that the director of Star Labs was irritated to see Naomi there, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you read that, you understand why. But it just seemed like here it was just another superhero, you know, after a break in. But I feel like they were the same, which I thought was a fun nod to that too. But yeah, no, this was I Naomi by herself, great.
Yeah,
I still have good feelings.
Yeah, and I'm also speculating that Dee went off to her homeworld to try and take out the villain, whatever his name was, Zambada?
Yeah, Zambado.
Zambado, yeah. Because it kind of hinted at that, but curious to see where they go with it. But if they really delve into like some of the dark shit that happened during this war and why like Dee is kind of from a villainous group of Thanagarians, like that'd be really interesting to go down.
Oh, and why he didn't go back to them. You know?
Yeah, maybe he saw, you know, he wanted to turn over a new leaf. He didn't want to go back to that specifically. He didn't want to be this bad person anymore. He realized he was one of the baddies to use
and so he stayed on Earth and became a motorcycle mechanic.
Yeah.
You know, that kept an eye on this girl and, you know, is going to be, you know, who knows what Zambada's going to do because we know he's a bad dude. So, but that's the thing about Thanagarians. You just give them something heavy to swing and they'll make do.
Yeah. I also thought Cara falling asleep there for a second until I started moving again.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, no, Mission 2 is pretty good. Solid stuff. Matt, what are you giving it?
8.5.
8.5. Very good. Where's my tab? There it is. Yeah, I'll probably. Yeah, honestly, 8.5. Yeah, I agree with that. I was trying to talk myself down.
A lot of that's the art too.
Yeah, the art's really good. Yeah, the art's elevating it for sure. I mean, the characterization is really solid, but because I would say that I care a lot more about the characterization and the character drama than I do the plot, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You know, because it's like, she's going to eventually go and fight Zambado or whatever. I don't really care about that much. It's more about the personal relationships that I'm enjoying. Yeah. So, yeah, good. All right. Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country issue 1. Connor read this.
As did I.
Oh, Matt read this too.
But he's been quiet for too long, so he can take the lead.
Oh, you can start, yeah.
Yeah, did you not read it, Pete?
No.
Why not?
Because I was tired and I couldn't be arsed reading another book.
Just say time. So let's move on. Let's go. Let's not shame.
It was kind of time as well, but it was just,
yeah.
No, I'm going to shame him. I'm going to shame him for not reading the good books.
So I don't know anything about the Sandman except about Dream and Death, right? I know about Morpheus.
Turns out that's kind of all you really need for this issue.
You're right. And I know about Death being, you know, this emo, you know, goth chick.
Yep.
You know, because we say emo today. And that's really it. Like, I've been told I need to read it. And then I got a message from Connor saying, he's like, hey, you just need to know about the Corinthian, which he told me about last week, right? When we were going over. But this is mostly a standalone Tynion. Like, I'm sure if you are up to date with all the Sandman dreaming stuff, it's even better. But being someone that's not at all, this just came out like a Tynion horror book.
Yeah, there's definitely, like, it's in that world. It has the Corinthian. There's a little bit explaining the Corinthian's backstory and his creation by Dream in a wonderful sequence by Paquette.
Yeah, Paquette. Yep.
But other than that, it basically just feels like a standalone Tynion horror book.
It
which
gave
means
me
it's
vibes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it gave me vibes of the new Candyman, and it might just be because the art.
That yet.
Yeah,
is that the bit in the mirror that the guy you're thinking that?
Yeah. So there's parts that they're going over our main, who I'm assuming is our main character,
Flynn.
Flynn, yeah, her art and how it puts people off. And I was just, you know, this whole thing about dreams and nightmares, and I was just getting vibes of the new Candyman. You know, which again, horror might as well, right? But yeah, man, Tynion just between this and Department of Truth, this dude has a lot to say about concepts and abstracts.
He's also tackling the exact same idea in Something Is Killing the Children.
Okay, so like in Department of Truth, it is what is reality, and you know your own beliefs form that reality. And here it's nightmares, like what makes a nightmare, because not everybody is fearful of the same stuff, but everyone can relate to a nightmare. And so here we get, you know, a character who, you know, apparently is doing artistic renditions of the Corinthian, but doesn't realize who the Corinthian is.
She's just like, oh, it's the smiling man. It's someone she sees in her nightmares, and it turns out there's a bunch of them that see him. You know, because there's a point where he shows up later.
Yep.
Obviously with the shades on, so
right, so you can't see his
can't see the eyes. So it looks
his mouth eyes.
His mouth eyes, yes. So she's like, oh, are you one of the ones that sees him too? So clearly there's a small little community of them.
And we get introduced to her at a bar talking about her dreams and how her dreams or her nightmares then, now with distance, almost feel just like her processing things. So, you know, one in particular what she had in high school was her middle school bullies finally accepting her.
Yeah, they apologized to her.
And
it's just like, it was stupid. Why'd I even dream that?
Right. And she's like, well, you know, if that is what makes it, how I read this was, if that makes it unpleasant, is that a nightmare? Or does a nightmare have to be something that's fear? Is, you know, what's the Corinthian's game here?
And the Corinthian himself, because we don't spend a ton of time following him. He has a short sequence. Manages to be creepy as shit. He stalks his victims and uses their dreams or their nightmares to fuel his passions. Where like he has one of them using the skin of her bookbinder's father turned into a notebook.
Yeah, so he keeps all of his stuff in this notebook that came from a bookbinder's nightmare, but the book was made from her father's skin. And he goes, well, not actually her father, but her father in the dream. So it's the dream
version, yeah.
Right.
And it talks about, you know, oh, there's a guy who lives in the forest. He's like in his 80s. He's terrified of mirrors, and he won't let them in his house because when he was like, I don't know, 14 or whatever it was, he had a nightmare where he woke up, you know, in the nightmare he looked in the mirror and he was essentially the Corinthian. He had the you know the mouth eyes, and in curiosity tried to touch them, and his eyes just started eating his fingers, and he couldn't stop. And that fear just stayed. So that every time he sees a mirror now, he's scared of what he'll see.
And now he's living with his daughter and her husband, who won't indulge his superstitions, and so he just looks terrified.
Yeah.
So
and
again,
you just see the Corinthian outside, just looking in the window. You just see the silhouette and like the eyes, or like the reflection of the glasses. Just him jotting down in his notebook what's happening.
Yeah. And so again, with Tynion and his whole idea of fear from Fear State, I feel like again it's him tackling these abstractions, and I don't feel there's another writer, at least that I'm aware of. I'm probably way off, that's doing similar stuff outside of Ram V with ideas. Right.
I mean, it's in a different way, but Gillen's kind of doing the same thing in Once and Future.
Yeah,
he's kind of taking a more storytelling approach.
Yeah, with folklore and whatnot, and how it's as real as we make it, and so it's fun to see that thread through all of his stuff, and I'm glad I did read this because it's very creepy. The artist, not Paquette. Do you have that up in front of you?
Estherren, I believe.
Yeah.
Lisandro Estherren,
It's very dreamlike in the reality, and yet when we get to the dreaming, it's very clean lines from Paquette and fantastical. So I was reading this at the doctor's office this morning. My wife's over my shoulder. She goes, "Oh, is that a Storybook Castle?" Right?
And then you flick through a few pages and you see all the demented drawings of the Corinthian.
Yeah, and it's like, no, but that's what it's meant to represent. And I'm explaining the dreaming where it's everything, you know, it can be anything to anybody. You know, because it's the dreamscape and whatnot. And so just the way that that's handled. But we get to the end of the book and we get introduced to Mr. Agony and Mr. Ecstasy. And like I've never seen Hellraiser, but these two characters come off as very Hellraiser to me.
They do have that vibe to it, yeah.
Yeah. So Mr. Agony is wearing like what looks like a gimp mask, half zipped, and he's huge, like built like Lurch from Addams Family.
And he's just got his nose sticking out. Yeah.
And Mr. Ecstasy looks like he has his face being pulled back.
Kind of looks like, do you know when they did the Joker having the stitched on face?
Uh-huh.
It's a
And
similar look to that.
And so his face is pulled up, his eyes, his nose, like everything's coming to an angle.
It is literally like it's a skin mask, and it's being hooked at the back and then like hooked at various points to keep it in place.
Hooked is the right way. So they're talking about visiting these people who had the dare to have dreams and be aspirational, because if anything in this life, it's going to beat you down. They have to understand the reality of this, and that dreams will kill you. And as they murder this guy that's trying to get away, he has knives stabbed in his legs.
Crawling along a pier.
Yeah,
and it is crawling because, like I say, he's got knives all in him. He's just blood everywhere.
And Mr. Ecstasy smashes his head, and leaves him there and says we have to go to Brooklyn to visit Flynn.
Yep.
And there's this other character that reminded me of in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, the hug lady. She's this big, huge, being that appears to Flynn early in the book, but she's overlooking. Who I'm assuming is a she.
Yeah, no, it's got feminine features for sure.
Yeah,
it's kind of clay-facey, kind of like that kind of mud monster. But tongues coming out of the eyes instead of teeth.
Right, similar to the Corinthian. So I'm wondering if these people, I don't feel like they work for the Corinthian, right? I don't
think so either. I think they're other agents. Although, I mean, if anything, I would say this is more likely to be a agent of the Corinthian, or maybe even an abstract form the Corinthian has taken, or sometimes appears this way.
Right, and so, because just the way that we see the Corinthian when he goes to visit Flynn, he has a almost Constantine level of charisma.
Yes.
We're like, who is this prick? Why do I kind of like him, but I shouldn't,
That's exactly what the Corinthian's like, yeah.
Right. So, and I feel like that went, and this is the complete opposite. I don't want to see this. In fact, my iPad got stuck on that final page because the stupid app doesn't want to work on my stupid iPad.
It's terrible,
and
yeah.
It's going to haunt me. It's going to haunt me with the face and the tongues.
A relatively simple image, because it's not like a super detailed, crazy creation. It is kind of like this mud monster, like I say, but it's just got enough features that it looks unsettling, and like I say, the tongues coming out of the eye holes, and it's not like just a human tongue. It's like a long kind of reptilian looking tongue almost.
And that makes me wonder if it is a form of the Corinthian. It's almost the version that's gotten too, because it's so engorged, right?
I wonder if it's like a splintered element of the Corinthian. Right, this explains in here, the Corinthian was created by Dream to be a mirror to humanity, and kind of being like, no, this is why, this is what you're scared of. It's designed to be a nightmare to haunt you because it feels real.
Well, and that's right, and that's existence. Like you got to have that fear. Fear is what drives, right? And like, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's able to look fear in the face and still continue to go on. And so that's where it feels like, again, that charisma of, it's like why people like watching scary movies, right? You get a charge, or riding roller coasters, doing something dangerous. It's okay to have fear, but it almost feels like this being is just fully feeds on fear. And it's a complete corruption of the Corinthians' mission. And so that's why I'm wondering if the faces, and because those images sure had the teeth that Flynn was drawing, but it didn't feel like it was the Corinthians' work, because he was confused, right? Because he visits the person that Flynn hooks up with, right? He visits and the Corinthian talks to.
Yes.
And has almost like a familiarity with, so he clearly is new to all this too. So that's why I'm wondering if this is, as this is his shadow form, like, does the shadow form have a shadow form? Is it something that's gotten corrupted in him because of, knowing Tynion, because of the ongoings of the modern world?
We should point out when he visits the guy, it's in a dream, yeah.
Right. Not like when he visits Flynn, which is in the real world.
Which is in real life, yeah. Right. And in the dream, this is while he's staying at Flynn's apartment, is asleep there in this room with all these creepy paintings. Yeah. And maybe it's not the Corinthian. It feels like it's supposed to represent the Corinthian, but maybe like say it is this other being. Yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah. So no, I'm glad I read this. I'm glad you told me to make time for it. Maybe reading this at the doctor's office wasn't the best idea with people,
that's also fair.
being around.
I don't think it's worth stressing to people that even if you haven't read Sandman, definitely if you haven't read the latest like Sandman universe round of stuff, this, I mean, admittedly, okay, I can't vouch for the whole series. It could change later, but right now, this is incredibly accessible. Like this could, barring a few elements, this could just be a completely original IP.
Yeah. So now that you said about that, something Scully and the Children, I have that first trade. So now I want to power through Department of Truth, because if this is a similar thread that he's playing with in there, and from Department of Truth,
because this is probably closer to Department of Truth. Some of the Killing of Children takes a more, how do I say this? Takes a more Buffy approach to it. To
which
that idea, it's closer to Once and Future than it is to this or Department of Truth.
And that's fine. It definitely has got me engaged, because I feel like with this, and then even Nice House on the Lake, there are these ideas that he's playing with that are clearly consuming him, that he's putting out there into the world.
Yeah, so, you definitely have some writers that are like try and tackle totally different things on every project. Tynion definitely feels like, no, he's got a couple of key themes that he's really fixated on, and he's really exploring them from a whole bunch of different angles.
Yeah.
But so far, every single one of those angles is damn fascinating.
Yeah, and if you're reading them all, you get to put the picture together. And if you're not, right, like, despite everyone telling me to read Department of Truth, it's taking me this long, but there are seeds of that, I feel, here with the whole, and then if he said,
very clearly part of his, his collected works.
Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely. So, but yeah, you ready to rate this?
Yeah. No, I love this. This is like a 9.
Yeah. How many of this an 8.5?
All right, 8.5 and 9. All right. Okay. Well, there's one more book. Every month at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can support myself or Connor to well, you can't support us, that's not what I meant to say though. You can make myself or Connor read a book of your choosing, one of the higher tiers. And Connor's going to talk about Noctera issue 7.
Yep. Start of the second arc. Tony Daniel's back with Snyder, of course. Obviously we had the Blacktop Bill special as the interlude. And yeah, we shift POV. We're no longer following Sundog. We are following the girl they picked up, Bailey, I think her name was now. And so the first like 3 or 4 pages are kind of, here's a recap of the world. Here's what was going on. Here's the gang. Here's the few different trucks that we've got in our convoy. All that stuff's fine, but it's solid, like nice little reintroduction back to the world, but not worth really reiterating over, because it is 3 or 4 intro pages, and then you get to the title page, and the second arc is called Pedal to the Metal, which already gives you an idea of where to go with, and so they're trying to find Eos, which is the city where they were told that is like got sunlight, or they're going to be able to cure sunlight. It's underground, and it's where the girl's grandfather had been, or claimed to have been. It's all the stuff from the first arc. So they're just like retracing his steps. They go to Outpost 31, which is pretty cool. It's supposed to be like this incredibly secure outpost, because it's basically like the home of driving. So in the first arc, there was that outpost that was the light bulb town. So it was just like light bulbs everywhere, and that's why that was safe, because the light kept everything away. And this one, it's just screens projecting, playing movies like at like maximum brightness. And there's tons of these screens, and you see like a lot of images and rendition. Like you've got there's the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. There's there's the Man with No Name. There's I think there's a whole load of just movie references on this, but I'm not going to go through them all. There's probably like 20 or so of them. I can see E.T. there. But it's a cool little page for Easter eggs. I'm sure Tony Daniel had a lot of fun picking which movies he wanted to represent there. the backstory just kind of being, oh, hey, no, this is a place that's famous for it. People brought all their films here, and it kind of just became their thing. And that's how they kept everything away. But they get inside, and not all is as it seems. You know, things are weird. There's no one around, but there's still livestock. And they're like, well, this is strange because if people were, you know, if the basic shades of guy in, they'd have eaten all the livestock. But so, you know, and they don't take hostages. So what's going on? And so they're moving around. There's a little sequence of them moving, you know, through a few different places, trying to, you know, retrace these steps, and they're not finding them. We have an interlude kind of with Blackstop Bill. Again, probably just in case you didn't read the one shot. I think this is more therefore, where it's just a little bit of a reminder that he exists, kind of that, oh no, he's evil as shit. This is kind of what we're doing. And then back to our crew. You know, they're having a bit of an incident with some of the new stronger shades, and they lose one of their trucks, and a couple of people, they go into the water. It goes off a bridge into the water, and they're like, okay, it's fine, you guys swim out, we'll winch the truck, we'll do what we can. And then a giant corrupted whale just eats them, and yeah, and they're like, all right, I guess we're gonna go hole up for the night, and we'll see what we can do tomorrow. And they're like, well, we don't really know where else to go. We kind of followed the path. We're out of everything. And at the kind of final page teases, well, there's one place we know that we could try. Don't really want to, but we know he dealt with Blacktop Bill, so that's where they're going. They're going to go and hunt down Blacktop Bill, even though he was the one hunting them last arc. So it's this nice little reversal. That's what it's going to be. Honestly, a very fast read of an issue. Especially if you happen to remember like what was going on before, because like I said, that first like 3, 4, 5 pages are kind of just recap, reintroduction, kind of just getting you back into the groove of the world. Especially if you didn't read that one shot. But no, it's good to be back. Tony Daniels, you know, art looks great. I like the setup, what this arc's going to be. I like that we've shifted to a different character. I enjoyed Val, but I think it's more interesting this way. If we're jumping around a gig, it's giving it more of an ensemble feel rather than it just being her book. And this kind of the reversal that we're going to be doing, where we're going to be hunting down Bill as opposed to, you know, him hunting our characters, should be fun. And I'm intrigued to see kind of what the mystery builds up as the arc goes on, because that tends to be how Snyder writes. Yeah, no, this is a really solid. Probably a 7.5 out of 10.
All right. Well, there you go. That'll take us out of the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, favorite what I missed, and rank the books of the week. I'm hungry. Okay, it's been a long show.
Yeah, we're getting done.
So yeah, we'll start with panel / moment. Matt, what do you have?
It's Lois bringing out the golden lasso. I love that so much.
Sure, Connor.
I'm gonna go with the Corinthian kind of standing outside the cabin, watching the old man writing in his notebook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the accidental murder of Barry Allen. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That's hilarious. Kidding me? Gold. Absolute gold. Much like the lasso, me and Matt have got common ground.
Yeah, right?
So, cover of the week. There wasn't actually, I didn't feel like there was that many choices this week. I think I'm going to go with the Michael Cho variant for Batgirls.
Did you look at the covers for Nightmare Country?
I didn't. There's like 14 of them.
I tend not to look at the books that I didn't read myself.
You're missing out on some good covers for that book.
I'm sure they're great, but I like to pick up one from the book I read, so I'm going with the Cho variant on Batgirls. All right, Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Frizzen variant from Nightmare Country, which is Death holding up kind of what is essentially the Corinthian skull.
So is Death the girl next door type? Because I get that vibe from her.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, who's the boy next door to the girl next door? Thanos?
So let me put it this way: there was in the Audible Sandman adaptation, Kat Dennings was cast
There you go.
And I like basically he's obviously as I know a slightly younger Kat Dennings as a goth, and yeah, you got pretty much a perfect casting of Death. So
there you go.
Does Death have a big, sizable testicles in the book?
I thought you were really gonna go with talent, but you went with the other one, huh?
I mean, they're not abnormally large.
I'm just saying, this is one of the first things that comes to mind with Kat Dennings.
I mean,
and her comedic timing and sweetness, I would say, but
yeah, I saw an episode of Two Broke Girls. I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, I saw it too, but I didn't pay attention, so I don't know.
You too busy paying attention to something else, man?
Yeah,
maybe
the previously mentioned assets that were discussed.
Maybe.
Okay. Caught out in his own hypocrisy.
Yep.
Yes, I did. That's why I said it.
All right, Matt, what's your cover of the week?
So I'm gonna go with the Clay Mann Batman Catwoman cover. That makes a rain. That's a really I like the composition there, and it's the black and the orange, the moon with the light over it. Yeah, it's a really cool cover.
Okay. All right. Then art of the week, Connor.
Nightmare Country. I mean, both artists are just doing a great job, and the contrast and the use of the guest segments of being like so different really works in context of the book.
Yeah, I think I will go with probably Jamal Campbell on Naomi out of the bunch, but not to sell Risso on Flashpoint Beyond, or Tormey on Superman, or even Corona on Batgirls. They're all solid, and obviously Mann's pretty great on Batman Catwoman, but I think I have to go with Campbell on Naomi. So I had a lot of decent to good choices, but I think Campbell's the one that sticks out the most. Matt, what's yours?
Hey, those are all the ones I was going to mention too, but I'm going with Naomi.
Yeah,
it's Campbell, really there.
Well, I mean, the good news is I basically mentioned every book here.
Yeah.
So that's good. As far as art's concerned, it's good for the week. All right, Matt, what's your top 5 books?
All right, so number 1's going to be Nightmare Country, 2 is Superman, Son of Kal-El, 3 is Naomi, 4 is Urban Legends, and 5 is Batman Catwoman.
Okay, Connor?
Can I say Nightmare Country 5 times?
I mean, that's all you read this week, so yes.
I mean, you could say it 5 times if you want, but it's not counting, and also he might come out of the mirror and kill you with his hook.
That's true. I'll slot Superman, Son of Kal-El in there at number 3 just to break it up.
Alright, so Flashpoint Zero is number 3 then, is what you're saying.
if we're being extremely generous to it.
I mean, no, it is. The logic dictates that it's number 3.
There is a gaping chasm of things I will scratch on the back of my hand for it before that is number 3.
The chasm, like it's number 3, or you have to go get a shot. Via a syringe. A syringe, not more.
You did not specify.
It was not an excuse to embrace your alcoholism, okay?
You said get a shot. I win. Loopholes.
One day, I'm going to get you strapped to a chair, and I'm going to get a medical professional to just shoot you up with harmless things, but you're going to have to sit there and watch it. You're going to have your eyelids peeled back, Clockwork Orange style. You can't even shut your eyes. Yeah, you can't shut his eyes though. It's going to be Clockwork Orange style. His eyes have to be open. He has to watch it go into his skin.
Is this how Connor becomes the real life Corinthian, Pete? I don't know if you want that.
Yeah.
Let's get you going.
One bad day. That's mine.
All right. My number 1 is Naomi, season 2. Number 2 will be Superman, Son of Kal-El. Number 3. Probably Batgirls, then Batman Catwoman, and then Flashpoint Beyond in last place. So kind of a mediocre week for me. And maybe it would have been better if I'd read the Sandman book, but
it would have.
I just wasn't in the mood. Okay, I wasn't in the mood for another book. But hey ho, there you go.
I love all the shit you give Matt and me for not reading issue 1s.
I haven't read a single Sandman universe book.
Either
I made a point of explicitly telling you
Don't
you
give
don't
him.
need to have read any of the others.
Don't give him ammunition.
I'm just thinking you would like it. That's all.
Maybe I
because
would.
it is more horror.
Maybe I would.
So.
You know what? See when issue 2 is coming out, pester me to read it. Pester me to catch up and read it.
Hey Pete, go read it.
When issue 2 is coming out, when it's relevant.
Hey, what's out next week?
I'll tell you what's coming out next week.
Is it Nightmare Country issue 2?
It's not.
No.
It's in Nightwing issue 91. We have the Flash 781. We have the Nice House in the Lake issue 8. We got Batman Superman World's Finest issue 2. We have Batman the Night issue 4. Catwoman 42. Robins issue 6. Catwoman Lonely City issue 3. So that's finally made its conclusion. So that's a biggie.
I think that's 4 issues, isn't it?
Or is it 4 issues? Oh, no, mind, it's the penultimate issue in that case. Most of them have been 3 though. So
I could be wrong, but I have a suspicion that it's 4.
Blue and Gold issue 8, which I think is the last issue of that. Trial of the Amazons, Wonder Girl issue 2, part of the crossover. Refrigerator Full of Heads issue 6. Wonder Woman Evolution issue 6. Earth Prime issue 2. Superman and Lois. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? 115 to round it up. So nice healthy handful of books out next week, with the Catwoman book being kind of the main event. Well, Nightwing's the main event, but in terms of like something a bit more rare, Catwoman's
World's Finest is my main event.
That's totally fair. I really liked issue 1, and
let's not forget Nice House on the Lake.
Yeah, that's good too.
It's a good week, is what we're saying.
And the Night, I really like.
It's a really strong looking week, actually.
Shoot, Refrigerator Full of Heads.
Yeah, and Flash, just for the record, Matt, is back to it's not the crossover anymore. Yeah,
I was gonna tell you that it's back. It's almost as if the last issue didn't happen, because it says the Eclipse of War is over, and there's like, yeah, it is. We're back on it.
Exactly. So I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to Tyler Hesson, De Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Treisman, and Alison M. Fordyce. Thank you to you all. That is one of the higher tiers, of course, but you can support us for as little as $1 per month over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses for your trouble. At the $5 tier, you get early access to the show. You'll get it when it's ready on the Saturday night, however late that may be. If that's interesting to you, you want to support the show, go and have a look. And also go check out other content made by myself and others on MailFuzz. Over at MailFuzz Movies, the YouTube channel, you can get the sci-fi podcast, the Atomic Cinema Experiment, or the horror movie podcast, Screams After Midnight. There's also audio feeds for those 2 shows as well. And then MailFuzz TV has TV news every week and a bunch of TV show reviews. So go and have a look and see if you're interested.
Including Better Call Saul this week.
Yeah, Better Call Saul's back. We'll be talking about that. Super exciting. One of the best shows of the last, half decade. So go have a look, see. But otherwise, I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, go rate us 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. That's the other thing I usually say. But there you go. We're in the new era. We're in the post 300 era. The march to 400 begins. Thank you very much. We're going to surpass Action Comics one of these days, just you wait. Thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.